Okay, everybody's got a fucking podcast. I mean, we have a podcast, so obviously anyone can do it.
Wait, this is a podcast?
Are you recording right now?
Technical difficulties.
No, you don't have to say anything. I'm going to edit it out.
Technical difficulties.
Okay. I put mayonnaise on a pickle.
It was not the best, but it might have been the worst.
Do my feet? I mean, my feet stink, right?
Yeah. All right, so what happened through bullet points here for this season? Just a quick read through. Excuse me. Gail's dead. Gus kills Victor because he was seen at the crime scene. Hank collects minerals, not rocks. Jesse can't deal with it. Mike is on Gus's side. See Walt's face. Marie likes to steal again. Hank's back. He's interested in the case. Make a dinner script. Looks like the end of Jesse. Jesse the hero. Walt needs to shut up. Walt is the one who knocks. Why return a car when you can blow it up? Jesse uses a bad analogy for killing Gale. Hank is really on the case. Gus backstory. Ted is stupid and Jesse can cook. Gus's revenge. Ted is stupid. Walt is fired. Ted has the money and apparently it's hilarious. Brock has been poisoned. Walt makes a car bomb. Walt bombs a nursing home. Gus is dead. Walt and Jesse blow up the lab. Turns out Walt poisoned Brock. The end.
All right. Well, welcome
Season
to the.
4.
Thank you for listening and subscribe,
Yeah, hit us up on the
follow, Cash App. I mean, I don't know.
All right. So where does this leave our characters? This story. As far as Walt, would you say that we hit Heisenberg this season?
Yeah.
We are full-time Heisenberg.
Full.
Where?
I mean, me personally, I think I mentioned it in season 3. I think we hit Heisenberg in season 3.
Right. Well, I was saying I think he's got the moments. At least, I mean, I don't remember exactly what we discussed, how we discussed it, but I remember I was saying, like, I think we have the moments, but a lot of season 3, I felt like we were just kind of waiting on Heisenberg to come out. Like, it was just kind of bitchy Walter White walking around in season 3, and I think at the end he did some Heisenberg shit, like where he runs the dudes over and, you know,
I think
helps Jesse.
Full Heisenberg started at the very end of season 3, beginning of season 4, when he got Jesse to kill Gale.
Okay.
Because that was pretty much like the first time where he had someone killed and it wasn't in like direct like self-defense.
Right.
This was just kind of like hey, this guy's knows my formula is going to replace me, so I'm going to kill him. The guy wasn't...
Not to step on your toes on that one, but it does kind of seem like that is self-defense, but just like one person removed, you know what I mean?
Farther away, I guess,
because you're basically... You just ordered a mob hit because you think you're going to get hit. You know what I mean? Because he was going to get hit, right? There's a smell in the basement. And again, that was where I was like, yeah, I think it'd be funny if there was actually the smell and they just killed Gale for nothing. Anyway, yeah. I think we do hit Heisenberg. I'm kind of torn where I think it starts. Like a lot of people say it's the whole like in the crawl space laughing, you know, when just everything is. He's like, "Where's the money?" Ted's got the money, and then it's just laughing, and that moment couldn't have been done better. Just the way they have this like downbeat going, and the laughing, and Skylar's on the phone, and you just hear him cackling in the background, and I just love that moment. But there was a couple other things in this season where I thought maybe, like, when the plan moved, is it there? Because I think the decision to go ahead and poison a kid, you know, is definitely a Heisenberg thing, but that is post laughing in the crawl space. So like that kind of points to maybe that. But also is it when he basically gives himself up ish by, not shutting the fuck up at dinner with Hank and family and and just saying, "Oh, I think your guy's still out there." I mean, he doesn't look like a genius. He just looks like he copied down some notes and that whole thing. Where it's like, dude, just shut the fuck up. But like, I don't think he wants it to be over. Well, for one thing, like he never got credit for Gray Matter, that first company was at. Now he's not getting credit for this, and this fucking guy that wears sandals in the lab, he's getting credit for it. Fuck that, right? So now he wants the credit. And now he's just fucking high. I don't know. I have all these moments where I'm not sure if maybe I think it's here or there. But I guess if I had to give an answer, it'd probably be the crawl space, I would say. I know that's like the
cliche answer.
Kinda, yeah. But I don't know, man. I think that's it. I don't know.
I do think a turning point for another character, though, in my opinion. I don't know why this scene kind of sticks with me a little bit. But I think because throughout season 4, even though Mike is paid to do a job, he does his job and he tries to keep himself out of it, but he has more and more doubts of Gus as the season goes on. At least what I picked up on. I think the turning point for him was when was named Victor got his throat sliced in front of them, and like the reactions of those three in that scene. Very well executed, because I think that was a turning point for all three of them towards Gus of like, this guy's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially because like you had, Mike, who originally had the fucking gun, pointed at like Walt and Jesse, and then all of a sudden like Victor gets his throat sliced, and he's like, he pointed the gun at Gus for a second, and then he like put it back down. So, like, I think that was a turning point for Mike of when he started more doubting Gustavo.
Yeah.
Because you could tell it was very subtle, but, like, he just kind of had, this guy needs to go. But, like, he doesn't want him to go because it's, it's how he pays the bills.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. Because, and that's the funny thing is, you can tell Mike definitely, maybe fears for his life, or maybe not his life, because he's kind of Mike and he's badass. But like the way that Gus just kind of does that, as if like, well, it had to be done. It's like, oh, well, my guy messed up and he was seen at the scene of a crime, and so now I have to slit this guy's throat, and just robotically, he just does it, right? And he just does it in front of the guys that had his, guy he wanted to replace them with killed, right? To send so he's like, oh, well, fucking 2 birds with 1 stone. This guy needs to go, and, I need to send these guys a message. And just so robotically, I mean, that scene is so fucking awesome. Gus says 5 words in the whole scene. He's completely silent. It's like, I don't know, maybe an 8 to 10 minute scene, maybe not even that long. And he just walks in slowly, changes clothes very nonchalant, does not let anybody faze him. Again, like, this is the start of the season. I think the continuing theme this season is just Walt just won't shut the fuck up. He's just sitting there trying to talk his way out of it. And then, Gus puts on the fucking, the orange, call it a hazmat.
Or whatever.
Yeah, kind of a jumpsuit, right? And goes over there, slits his throat, very just robotic, goes over there, rinses himself off, puts all his shit back on, walks to the top of the stairs, hasn't said a word, and he goes, well, get back to work. I mean, just, and like, there's not like a real big musical score there, too. I mean, that scene's just done so well. But on the Gus point, yeah, Mike's scared. But Mike's also very loyal.
Yeah.
Right. So even, when Walt comes and says like, hey, maybe we turn against Gus together, right? And Mike just blasts him in the face. Yeah. He's like, you done? And then, beats him up. The other possible Heisenberg change I had was so there's that moment where Walt buys the gun. What, it's episode 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that moment outside of Gus's house, and I don't remember if it's like soft music and then it changes to like a kind of a dramatic kind of piece of music there, but like there's like a sound effect almost when he's sitting there outside Gus's house. He's just kind of looking, then he puts the hat on, and there's just kind of this moment where everything changes there. I don't know. I didn't know if that was supposed to maybe be like the symbolic moment, right? Because that's the Heisenberg thing, right? Is the hat. But that was the other thing I had. But he's definitely a terrible person in this. By this point, like I don't think there's any more good left in Walt.
No.
At this point, he cares about what he cares about, but selfishly. And the other thing with him is like bringing the bomb into the hospital, not seeing the hole in his own plan. Like, it just must have been Jesse. Like, of course it was Jesse that fucked up. That's why Gus walked away from the car bomb. It's like it couldn't have been my poisoning of the kid. And like, until you see the end of the season, you don't really put the pieces together. Like, well, why did Gus know to walk away? Right. And he's like, well, he hears about the kid being poisoned, and he's like, well, I know I didn't do that, so where the fuck did that come from, right? And then he's like, wait, is this whole thing is set up? And the fact that Gus would see that many steps ahead, and it's just fun to try. Like, again, I think Walt loves all these games that he gets to compete in here, with the Hank cat and mouse thing, and then with Gus. This is the only guy that's really kind of matched Walt this whole series so far, as like keeping up with him, being like him and Mike are steps ahead of Walt like every time until the end of this season. And really, I don't think Walt gets to Gus if Mike isn't healing up in Mexico. Like Mike keeps tabs on him and all that shit, right? So interesting thoughts, right? And then we have Jesse this season, who's just kind of walking around traumatized. Like, he didn't want to kill Gail.
He's walking around like a daze, like most of the season. And then, little
Just
boy gets poisoned, and
it's weird. Like, and that was the other thing. Like my thing I wrote down about him is just really short, because it's like, you kind of just watch him revert back to all the shit he was doing in the previous seasons. Because in season 3, he's, in recovery, and he's actually doing really well. He's sober. He just wants to better himself, which ironically is by selling drugs, making meth. But, now he just ruins his, and again, it's all Walt. Walt just ruins his life. Hey, go kill this guy for me, right? And that's like, I love that breaking point in season 5 where Jesse's like, he can't keep getting away with it. And it's like, this is kind of like, this is one of the big moments in the lead up to that. Just Walt just fucks his life up over and over again. He just keeps going back. Walt keeps talking him into it.
And yet, the storyline is so good that we empathize with Walt.
Well, he's got cancer.
Yeah, he's got cancer. He's doing it for his family.
He's got a family. He's got cancer. Leave him alone.
He's got a family. He's got cancer. All the money he had before his cheating wife gave to her fucking side piece.
Ex mistress.
Her ex mister.
Ted's bitchy enough. We can call him a mistress.
Ex mistress. So
there you go. That's good.
He doesn't fucking go to jail.
And then he just then he
goes and fucking buys a fucking car, and
Ted's literally a dumb bimbo. He's just like, oh well, I can spend it on this shit now. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, Ted's a bimbo. I'm okay with calling him a mistress.
You know, everything that happened to Ted, he deserved, and I'm happy it happened to him because,
yeah.
yeah, fuck Ted.
Fuck Ted.
Fuck Skylar.
Yeah. Yeah, fuck Skylar. Yeah, that was one of the other people I just had a little thing about. It's like she's just like wishy-washy this season. You know? Like she decides like, okay, I'm in. You know, I'll launder the money. I'm in this, with you. If you're going to be a criminal, then I'll fucking do it. But then
She's upset that he's a criminal.
yeah, she's upset again, when he says he's the one who knocks. Now she's got to go to the fucking Four Corners landmark and, contemplate her life. And it's like, look, either go in, but I don't know. I guess also that's supposed to kind of represent that, Walt, the fact that he doesn't think about this anymore, that he's just all in on being bad. He's okay with having broke bad, right? To be cheesy, but I guess that kind of represents like, oh, Walt's just okay with this, and Skylar, like a normal person, should not be okay just having everything, just being completely a criminal, I think is what it's kind of supposed to be getting at. And then maybe that's why she's so wishy-washy. Like, Skylar represents, like, how a person should feel if they're living this bad life, whereas Walt represents, like, the dude who is actually, like, a bad dude. And
Just living out his fantasy.
yeah, I mean, maybe a good bad summary for this. Well, maybe a good summary, I suppose. A bad summary is, and we don't tell the whole story in it, or summarize it well, but good in the way that it kind of sums up Walt is, midlife crisis leads to biggest meth empire, or big meth empire, whatever. To meth empire. You gotta shorten it. Small word, small sentence, You gotta hit it.
Make sure it just
Can't have
right off the tongue.
Can't have a lot of fat in a sentence like that, Midlife crisis leads to meth empire. Boom. Done.
I'd do it.
Or a comedian gets role in a hit show. Bill Burr.
Sorry, we're talking about Bill Burr.
Yeah. Well, and oh man, why am I forgetting his name?
Heel?
Lavelle Crawford. Yeah.
Heel.
Yeah. And then Hank. It's fun to watch him a little bit, his storyline, because he's just a pain in the ass to Marie most of the season. And, he just kind of... But he's a good cop, and so when he has this good friend that wants help with this case, and he keeps coming by, and he's like, hey, I could really use your help on this, and, he's kind of like, what am I going to do? I'm useless. I can't get out of bed, yada, yada. And then he starts digging into it, and, Hank really is, in a different show, Hank's the main character and is the hero, but instead, this is about Walter White, and so...
He's the bad guy.
He's the bad guy. He's the bad good guy.
The bad good guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like playing Grand Theft Auto and you hate the cops.
Right. Yeah, this show's like Grand Theft Auto, right? A little bit. Yeah. And his life is also ruined by, this is, I guess it's funny because, the show's kind of like a result of just all of Walt's selfish actions.
And everyone has to suffer from it.
Right. Like Hank still being like kind of laid up is, still the result of Walt, so yeah.
Although,
Anyway.
do you Marie stealing, is that a result of Walt?
This second time around, yeah. Not the first time around. She was just a, shitty thief.
Fucking thief. You trying to deep throat the mic or something?
Yeah. Yeah. No, the second time through, for sure. Because, she's only reverting back to the behavior of before because, she's stressed out taking care of Hank, and Hank's not nice to her, and the relationship. There's kind of like a void growing between them. But then when he starts getting back into his work, they start having a good relationship again.
And I feel sorry for anyone who has to be married to Marie. That's something.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah,
She is an annoying soul.
she is. That is true.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
She's annoying.
So the important scenes, kind of. I started this note section out as that, and then it may have strayed further and further from that as I went through my notes, but we'll see how it goes.
Let's roll into it.
We kind of talked about the significance of like just the first episode, because as far as scenes go, the first episode is just really important. We're coming off of season 3. Gail gets shot by Jesse, and we're in the consequences of that scene from last season, right? Hank. Walt and Jesse, are being kept down in the lab by Mike. I almost said Hank again. And Victor went off to get Jesse, and Jesse's like, "What the fuck did I just do?" And he's just sitting in his car. And then Victor's like, Victor goes and grabs him, goes back to the lab, and this is when
Funny how they get
Good.
down there. There's no weird smell.
Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting.
Interesting.
It's almost like they were gonna kill Walt. It's weird.
I feel like that would have been like an appropriate comment for one of them for like Walt to say. It's like, "There's no weird smell down here. What's going on?"
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to push the situation further. I would have, but
Yeah. Yeah, something tells me Mike might be a little impatient in that moment with humor,
Walter.
It's not the time for games, Walter. But yeah, so it's kind of them just sitting around. It's funny how this show can be like high stakes but slow at the same time oftentimes, like where we're just kind of sitting around waiting for something to happen. What are the results of of what's going of this whole killing Gale thing, right? Where's Gus? Where's Victor and Jesse? And then so it's like high stakes, but but also nothing's
Just
happening at the same time, And we keep watching. It's weird. But yeah, and then like the whole significance of that first scene of the episode even, right? Is Gale like vouching for Walt. It's like, I don't care who he works with. Like, this guy's fucking genius, right? So he's the whole reason they're there. And of course, Walt essentially killed him, by proxy. Right. And, yeah. Gus kills Victor. We kind of discussed some of this.
So wait, Gus killed Victor?
Hmm?
Oh.
Yeah.
Must have missed that scene.
Yeah. Hard to miss. A lot of blood. Blood on the red floor. That was fun.
Never notice it.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, okay. And then I like that Gus says 5 words the whole scene, and then Jesse's first words of the episode. Jesse says no words, like all episodes, until they're in Denny's. Like, he doesn't speak at all. I don't know. There's something to the significance of that. It's just like he's just silent through that whole thing, and Walt's just like, will never shut up. I don't know. Something about that to me. That meant something to me. I don't know what.
Maybe he was just so traumatized, or maybe it was just setting up for how Jesse was going to be the whole season.
Yeah.
Just in a daze.
That Walt,
Walt not shutting the fuck up and Jesse in a daze.
Yeah, Walt is he's come to terms with this bad thing, but Jesse still wants to be a good dude, and so now he's just like, what the fuck? Whereas Walt's just like, Yeah, we kill people. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's what we do.
This is us now. Yeah, I don't know. And then
I knock.
I'm the one who knocks. Yeah, and then just the whole imagery of like the. I like the one cut. The show's just always shot so well, but the one cut of the blood being mopped off the floor, and then the next image is in Denny's and there's like some fries swirling in ketchup. You're like, nice. Let's see. We kind of talked about Jesse sulking and partying pretty much all season. But of course, we have to discuss, we finally got an explanation. I know we've been waiting. We got an explanation of why the pizza wasn't cut.
Yeah, I mean, that was a mystery. I was like, man, I ain't never seen no pizza fly up on the roof hole.
Yeah.
Crazy. I was like, God damn, what the fuck? Breaking Bad? Breaking pizza? What the fuck's going on here?
Pass the savings on to you, man. They pass the savings on to you.
Do you really think they would pass the savings on to you if they didn't cut the pizza? No.
I don't think so. I don't know how much you could monetize that, really.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's 2 seconds.
Yeah. I'll do it again. 3 times?
I don't know. Depends upon what size of the pizza.
Probably 4 times.
Maybe 4? I don't know. I've never worked at a fucking pizza place. I don't know. I guess it also depends on, maybe are you going to, cut into, triangles? Are you going to cut into squares? Or how are you going to pizza cut? Is it circle? Is it deep dish?
Maybe they are into square cutting and then...
So it's like Donato's or...
And then they realized, like, this is time consuming as fuck. We're going to pass the savings on to
Especially
the
on
customer.
that big ass pizza.
Yeah.
It's a big ass
pizza. It is a big pizza.
It's a big ass fucking
comically
pizza.
large pizza. I love the dipping sticks are always a thing. In season 3 when he shows up and he's like, but I got dipping sticks. And then when he's telling that meth head dude to make sure there's pizza when he gets back and get dipping sticks. I don't know. It's the dipping sticks. Being very important or funny.
It makes you curious, what exactly is dipping sticks? Is it just bread sticks, marinara sauce? Is it cheese sticks? Is it
probably like
garlic bread sticks?
Probably the equivalent to like Little Caesars, like crazy bread,
Is it like an actual just wooden stick that you can dip into something and eat? Or like what?
Oh, like Fun Dip.
Oh, Fun Dip. Yeah, there you go.
Piece of chalk and pouch of sugar.
I love some Fun Dip.
Yeah?
I do love Fun Dip. That reminds me, I need to go to the store before Valentine's Day is over and get one of them big boxes of Fun Dip. This is the Valentine's Day cards. Yeah. I love
have fun with that, buddy.
Just, I've had it for a while. Just segued me into doing the cocaine as I'm an adult. So,
Hey, man. Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we explained the pizza. And also within that scene, the more important part of the scene. But, we focus on the wrong things often, right?
No. Right things.
Is Andrea coming over to ask about why she's getting money? And, it shows how messed up Jesse is, I think, a little bit. Because, I don't know, he's got these people he cares about, and you'd think he could go hang out with them and maybe I know you're not really supposed to talk about your life, right, when you're a drug dealer and you're murdering people, but it seems like you'd spend some time with some people you care about rather than just throwing yourself back into party, getting out of recovery. But some people just don't have good coping mechanisms, right? So
sometimes partying is the right answer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next thing I have is just the whole Marie doing the lying thing, right? I love the lie Marie told about her husband being an astronaut and her being a hand model. It sounds like a couple you'd meet on House Hunters.
And their budget's $4.3 million.
Yeah. It's like, and that one isn't important. That's just funny to me. Just kind of encapsulates the episode, though. Marie's on her bullshit again.
Fucking going to open houses and...
Walt and Skylar decide to buy the car wash, and Skylar hatches her first evil scheme, right? And, in walks Bill Burr as QB. And, yeah. She's a little evil mastermind, too.
Yeah. It's in the groundwater.
Yep. Let's see here.
That was a very creative plot to get him to want to sell. Be like, hey man, you have to shut down.
It took some doing for sure. Yeah, I think the quote by Saul, which I like. Yeah, I'm gonna go down to quotes for a second. Yeah, the Saul quote is, okay, so all we have to do is think of a non-violent, unsuspicious way to purchase a car wash that protects the innocent and doesn't cost $20 million. Don't everybody speak at once. Yeah. That's a good one. All right. So then we have the episode where Jesse's just like done. He doesn't care. He's the king of the squalor. You know, as Frank would say, I love the squalor. And you know, just like the part where he's just like everybody's kind of like dead, not dead, but you know, just like passed out, not really doing anything. The vibe's lethargic, and he's just like, just throws up. He's like, money, and everybody's like, yeah. Starting fighting over it and shit. That's a good time.
Fucking crackhead that was taking apart the Roomba.
and then like
what the fuck?
The thing that got me was Jesse just saw it and he was just kind of like and just looked away. It's like, man, how much was that room? Especially like what was this at this point? Fucking 2012,
11, 12.
How much was a fucking Roomba in 2012?
Probably
you know,
expensive.
I mean, how much is it now? Shit.
It's a good question for Google. Probably still expensive. I think they're more.
Probably, I would think a little more affordable now. But when like the first time, you know, a piece of new something comes out, it's always a little more. Where did I put the gum? Oh.
So for like an actual like Roomba, brand, you're looking at about $300. So for like a okay, hold on. There's about $200-$300. So probably like $800 back then.
I suppose it's nothing when you're a drug dealer and you got the money just to throw it up in the living room full of meth heads and just go, money!
Would you ever get a Roomba?
I don't think so. I don't think. I'll just vacuum.
Yeah, just vacuum. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Just too much. Like, and then on top of that, like, you know, the little doesn't hold that much shit, so you got to constantly fucking empty out the little collecting tray.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, he just doesn't even give a fuck anymore. You know, Walt comes in asking about the crime scene. Is there any way you fucking left anything at the crime? Whatever the hell he says, you know. Just asking about all the loose ends. Which kind of ties to like a cunty thing that I was thinking about. But like, if Victor found Jesse at the crime scene, then he was like, all right, drive. Right? Because Jesse's just sitting there in his car. So, if they went back in Jesse's car, then Victor's car is probably sitting back at the apartment complex, right, logistically. And who the fuck's thinking about this? Me, apparently. But, I don't know. I mean, probably an easy thing to remedy, right? Mike probably just goes and gets the car the next day. But, like, if we're thinking about the crime scene, of course, Walt probably doesn't care if Victor's car is there. He probably doesn't care if Victor's the prime suspect in a murder trial. But
he doesn't care about Victor. Victor's dead.
Doesn't care about anybody.
Doesn't care about anyone but himself.
Yeah, but he had, you know, Jesse's just in there shaving heads like it's the thing to do. It's just
crackheads
funny.
will let you do anything.
They did. That was one thing I forgot with the special features was they said the one dude whose head he's shaving, you know, like the dude was just like, yeah, like you can shave it. And so then that's funny because you're actually shaving someone's head. And so then, like, whatever you do in that take, like, you can't, like, do 3 takes. You know, you can only shave the guy's head fucking once. right? So I don't know.
You better not just fuck up this take.
Yeah, it's just funny. Anyway, yeah, shaving heads, throws Walt out, money stolen in return, doesn't care. Mike kidnaps him. Want to ask where we're going? Nope, doesn't care. Just Jesse's just kind of beaten down, right? Just like he's done, just done. And then I think it's beginning of the next episode. We got Hank, and he's talking to his cop buddy again. He's wearing his DEA Fun Run 2006 shirt. And it's like so significant, right? Because, they talk about how, Gus sponsors everything and the fun runs. And they're talking about the case that ultimately leads them back to Gus if they were to, complete the whole thing. Which they never quite catch him, right? But yeah, just the fact that you're sitting there in that shirt that Gus probably, had made. I don't know.
It's the irony. It's where the answer is right in front of you, hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, it's the best place to hide out here. Yeah. And then, it might have skipped a little bit. I mean, there is some dead. I mean, there's dead spots in any series, right? Cross episodes. Because the next thing I have was just the Skylar and Walt banging again.
Did that turn you on?
Sure.
I bet it did.
How about you?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I just kept thinking back to the scene though of Walt jerking it in the bathroom.
Did it do it for you?
A little bit. No homo.
Okay. Edit out the word no. Yeah. I think just the way she was kind of talking to him before that, because he leaves the message because Jesse was taken. Oh, yeah, that was the other cunty thing I need to get to after this. We'll do this part first. But he leaves that voicemail because he's like in this panic, driving to Pollos, Los Pollos Hermanos in the beginning of the episode. And so he leaves with his voicemail. He's like, hey, I was thinking about you and the kids and I love you, yada, yada, right? And so then she checks the voicemail when he's there and he's like, oh no, that's the voicemail I left when I thought I was going to go die, And then she's like, looks at him and then it's on, right? And they're in the bedroom banging out, yada, yada. Right.
So is that the key to get women to have sex with you?
Leave them a voicemail.
Did you think you might die? And then they're just going to want to have sex with you afterwards.
Well, I think you just leave them the voicemail of, just the, I was thinking and I love you. Because
that get you nowhere.
No, I mean, it did, because I don't think she realized, because they had kind of split. First, what you have to do is you have to split with your wife.
Okay.
Then you have to just be like, hey, I was thinking and I just really love you. That'll get you somewhere, because you have to have the split and then the come together of like I was wrong and I love you.
Women love it when you admit that you're wrong.
Right. Exactly. Now you're getting it. Getting what? I don't know. Anyway. So I think they would have ended up in the bed that day anyhow, because the way they're talking after they finalize the whole bank deal is, she's saying like no more secrets, as in like I still love you, but you got to cut the bullshit. Is kind of what she's trying to get at with him. I think she wanted to get back together, but like, be legit, as she does later in the season as well, when she's kind of talking to him about like, hey, I think you can quit your other job now, quote unquote, right? So I don't know. I think the message just sped up the process, right? I don't know.
You can quit your gambling.
Yeah.
Wink.
But the thing I wanted to be a cunt about on that one is why the sense of urgency at the beginning of that episode? Because at the end of the previous episode, he's at the lab and he's like, what the fuck? Like, why isn't Jesse here? He's like pissed off doing the cook, and he's like, so then he's like, okay, I'm going to Jesse's house, and he goes to Jesse's house, right? And then no Jesse, and he calls him, and the phone's on the nightstand, and it's vibrating. He's like, what the fuck? So then, to end this episode, he drives back to the lab, looks in the camera, and goes, where is he? He does his best Batman impression, right? Where is it? So then to open the next episode, Walt is in this panic driving to the restaurant. And which of course he arrives and then just sits patiently. Which is just funny. You go from like driving through traffic and almost hitting people and shit
to just sitting.
And then you just hands in your pockets just yeah, I'll wait over here. Like, I don't know. Just kind of goofy. But yeah, why the urgency? Like, why did you go from Jesse's house to the lab to Pollo's?
Just to sit in the lobby.
But like, what's with the hurry? Because like, why'd you go back to the lab and then go to Pollo's? If you're like, because you can't talk to the camera. I mean, you can. You can go, where is he? But now you just tipped off Gus that you're going to be at Pollo's in a minute. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really line up.
It doesn't make sense why he would have that sense of urgency for that, and then the back and the camera part. I don't know.
Why would you go ask the camera? You know where the camera's located. Gus has it, so just go.
Go to Gus.
Straight to point. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm a dick.
A little bit.
So. And the other thing, while we're down here, because we kind of I passed over this here, but the whole champagne argument from Skylar, like when he wants to celebrate with the champagne or whatever. And she's like, it does. He's like, I bought it cash. She's like, it doesn't matter if you bought it cash. We're poor. We're not supposed to have any money. I'm waiting on the welfare check or unemployment check to pay the rent or whatever the fuck. And it's like, how'd you buy the car wash? Right? Did you take out an official loan? Because like, I don't think the government's just like, oh, you're laundering gambling money? Yeah, pay for it. It's cool. It's fine. Like in order to make that official, you got to take the loan out to buy the car, like, the small business loan or whatever. So then are you paying on the loan? Like where are you getting, like, you have to have some sort of credit to even get started in that. And like, it's not completely unreasonable to think they would have had money. Now, this is a very dumb thing to get hung up on, but I guess Skylar just makes me mad, and I'm just, she starts going into something. I'm like, I mean, your story isn't exactly bulletproof anyway.
She like
you know what I mean?
Half-asses one side, but then is like, well, this other side needs to be like tight.
Right. I mean, I don't know. People spend too much money on things they shouldn't all the time. You know what I mean? So like, it's not outside of, it's not unreasonable that they might have bought a big bottle of champagne, expensive bottle of champagne to celebrate. Doing something. Poor people spend money on shit they shouldn't all the time. Like, I do. I mean,
I think to stay poor.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, poor people, you just tried not being poor?
I mean, I'm poor about these fucking microphones. What are we doing? What are we doing over here, Like, I bought a bunch of shit I shouldn't.
We'll be doing some ASMR next,
Yeah. All right, where were we? Going back up. Oh, yeah. So then, later in the episode, this just reminds me of a Louis C.K. joke. So there's a scene where, Walt's trying to forklift the barrel over to where he needs it to, get the batch started or whatever the fuck, Meth.
Meth.
there's this Louis C.K. joke where he's talking about, there was a bat in his house, and he shut the door, and he's like, calls a guy to get the bat out, some animal control guy. He's like, and I'm like cowering in the corner, like I'm a, distressed housewife or something, and he's like, there's a bat in there. And he's like, the guy just walks over and he's like, just like grab the bat. And he's like, it was literally as simple as like, there's a box of tissues. And the guy walks in and he's like, these? It's like, yes, thank you. Like that's what like the Tyrus, because Walt yells at the camera. He's like, I'm done. Then Tyrus walks in and he grabs the forklift and he just like lifts the barrel up and like, where do you want it? And then just that moment of Walt being like, yeah, that was silly of me, I suppose. Because I don't know, he's just like that disgruntled guy that's just mad about everything, Yeah.
Disgruntled old guy.
And like, I don't know, like that day when he walks in and he's like angry at the cameras being there, it's like, what'd you expect? Did you expect him to get more lax on security after you killed the guy you work with? I don't know.
Watching his every move though. He doesn't like it.
Yeah. Well, don't
kill people.
Yeah, don't make
dumb decisions.
Don't make every move, make it to where you need to be watched, And so then in this episode we got the whole Jesse and Mike. I love the dynamic of those two together. Mike just like the calm like guy, it's old and just over it, and Jesse just like can't stop moving. He's beating on shit and singing. Eventually just gets on Mike's nerves and he just yells at him and shit. It's like, but at the end of the episode we have the whole case where it's a setup. Right, Gus wants Jesse to look like the hero, to kind of, because what's great about this plan by Gus is the fact that when Walt figures it out, because he knows Walt's going to figure it out. Like, this is ultimately to pin the two of them against each other, because he knows even when Walt figures out that this was just to pin the two of them against each other, that this was a ploy to make Jesse look like the hero in the situation, right? Saving Mike or whatever. That as soon as Walt figures it out and tells Jesse that, Jesse's going to be like, fuck you, man. You think I can't do stuff? I mean, to make a stupid reference, like Fredo from Godfather 2, he's like, I can figure things out. I'm smart. Anyway, sorry. Godfather 2 is doesn't belong here. There's a lot of Godfather references I feel like in this. And I have that in the box score.
And like, yeah, with the with how Jesse's, been and Jesse, Jesse basically never in this whole show has not had a win.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is a chance to feel like he has a win, and of course he wouldn't, like in that situation he wouldn't let Walt take that away from him.
Yeah.
Because he has not had a win in this whole series.
Yeah. And like the logistics of that situation are interesting too. They're like, so if Jesse like just doesn't notice the guy walking up with the shotgun, which I assume, I guess, is like he's gonna know. I don't know. I guess you're assuming like, hey, keep watch, so maybe he does notice. But what if Jesse's just fucking off and he's just sitting there beating on the dashboard, fallacies, still singing fallacies.
Just doesn't notice the guy walking.
Yeah, what if guy like does the guy like
stop and like
and he's like,
or like does he like stop and go back and like let me walk up again?
Yeah,
he'll notice me this time.
It's like, did he just? And he's like, wait, did that guy just turn around back there? He decide against robbing us, and then he turns around again.
He's like, did he just decide to rob us again? This guy's fucking indecisive. Make up your mind, dude.
Indecisive thief I've ever met. Yeah, I don't know. Just the logistics of that situation. Like, was it just going to be a robbery, or was that? I mean, would the guy have shot Jesse? Like, Was this either like Jesse's going to get assassinated or Jesse's going to save the day? I just wonder about kind of the logistics of it, if he doesn't notice. And then next episode, Walt wakes up hungover. Because he is, and, this is the famous line, him and Skylar are arguing. And, she's like, you're scared. I think you want to get caught, yada, yada, yada. What about when the person comes to the door, to shoot you? And he's like, I am the one who knocks. Just that whole bit, so. And
now suddenly Skylar is against.
And this is when Skylar White has her white girl moment. I think, did I say this in the last season where we were saying like Skylar White is the best name for her because she's just very white, like Skylar White? Well, yeah, okay. Well, then I just said it. It is the best name for her.
Well, now you have said it. It's on the record now.
Because she's very white.
Very white.
And so then I created a box score category called Skylar White Girl Moments. So we'll get into that later. But this is one of them where she decides she's going out for the day.
Out?
Like in season 2.
Where are you going? Out?
To the border of the four corners of all the states. Is that okay?
Out?
Out of state?
Out?
I don't know. Just you can't. I don't know. Again, the wishy-washy thing. You decide you're in. Now you decide he's the one who knocks. So like that's scary. And now I'm going out.
Now I'm gonna go flip a coin and go out.
And then even when it lands in another state,
I'm not really out.
I'm in. I'm in. I don't know. But in her absence.
A great absence.
We always enjoy some Skylar absence. Walt goes and completes the exchange of the car wash from Bogdan. And, Bogdan's big thing is, as is. And he's like, okay. And then, Bogdan goes to take his first dollar off the wall. And Walt's like, as is, Bogdan. I was just so surprised that's not like that wasn't a fuck you, Walter moment, like, I don't know. It was my first dollar. So I don't know. Not that I would I don't even think I would frame a first dollar, to be honest with you, if I had some sort of business.
Very, very cliche.
It is.
I'd frame my first $100.
What am I, fucking Mr. Krabs over here?
I'd frame the first...
Me first dollar!
I'd frame the first $100 bill that I made there that I used to rail a line of cocaine off of a hooker's ass.
Okay, there, that's Jordan Belfort. Framed. Jesus Christ.
That's what's getting framed.
Or if you're more of a, Jeffrey Dahmer situation, maybe the hooker's ass is getting framed.
Have to be a male hooker, though. Probably black.
I said like Jeffrey Dahmer. I mean, you don't have to be Jeffrey. You get it.
Would you rather be Jeffrey Dahmer or Jeffrey Epstein?
No comment. I was just surprised when he takes the dollar, though, that Walt just smashes the frame on the counter in the establishment that he just bought. It's like, well, you got to sweep that up now, stupid. At least do it on the counter, in a contained space so you can just kind of brush it off. He just, let the glass go all over the floor and shit.
You could, also just flip open the tabs on the back and take it out.
But, it's got to look cool, right? So, yeah. It's just if you're going to break it, at least do it in a contained space, Or just don't break it. Flip the tabs open. But, anyway. So then, Jesse and Mike in the car. I don't remember if it's in the same episode or the next episode, but this is probably one of my favorite Jesse moments from the show. Is him and Mike, they're watching that house because the dude stole the meth, and he's like, "You may know this whole PI sit in the car business, but I know meth heads." And then he goes and gets the shovel and he starts
fucking
digging. That fucking meth head wanders out into the front yard. Like, where are you digging? Or, how deep you think it is? I don't know. You want to take over? Yeah.
That is probably one of the funniest scenes of the season. He starts thinking, "What you doing? Digging?"
And then it's so unsettling when you go in the house because like
The dude's in there just fucking yelling.
Tucker! You're just like, fuck, shut up. But
Tucker!
that's part of that fucking like making you uneasy is just that thing that keeps annoying you. So you're already kind of on edge, as he's walking in there, and you're like, would that guy shut the fuck up now? Now you're face to face with Tucker guy. We're calling him Tucker guy.
Tucker guy.
Yeah. It just adds to the intensity of the scene where it's kind of this unsettling meth head, and then you got the teeth and then the shotgun, and it's just a whole thing. So, you don't put thoughts in my head. You're right. So, that's a good scene. I like that. Would you have taken the Challenger back?
No.
I think that as well. I think you just go damage control. And if you ever get questioned about it, you're like, we've been saving him for a long time, wanted to get him special something for his 16th birthday, and like, plus everyone's already seen it. You know what I mean? Like, does it make it any better that you take it back? Like, it's on record that you did it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
And then on top of that, why would you burn it?
Yeah, that was just
It's
stupid.
pretty fucking like irrational and not logical thing to do. Just be like, well, I was supposed to return this car, so let me go do some donuts and set it on fire.
That almost seemed like now that I'm thinking about it again, like, it almost seemed like a defiant thing of like, Skylar says, take it back. And he's just like, fuck you.
Fuck you, I'll set it on fire.
I got it stuck and I can't get it out. I'm not going to ask for help. Fuck you. We'll blow it up.
Set it on fire.
Yeah.
Such a logical thing to do. You get it stuck on a fucking curb stop or parking stop. He's like, burn it.
Yeah. Who cares? This thing's no good now.
It's no good. It's on a fucking parking stop. Or what am I supposed to do with this thing now? Fucking burn it.
Right. Like, he already told Hank about it. Like, by the way, with the whole dinner script thing, which was like the Skylar White girl moment, like top one of the season, do you think Hank is just cool with like, oh, you're a big fucking gambler and now you're laundering money through the car wash? You're laundering. I don't know. Do you think as a cop, like in real life, like that Hank's just like,
Turn the other cheek. Like,
yeah. Like, do you think he's just cool with it like that?
I mean, to be fair, he's in the Drug Enforcement Agency, not the FBI.
Yeah, but excuse me.
I mean, he turns ahead to his wife stealing.
Yeah, well, that's him though. You know how people are. Double standards. Like, if I do something wrong, or my wife, it's one thing. But if you do something wrong, you peasant. You know what I mean?
But it also kind of seemed like he kind of turned his head the other way for a lot of things that was led to have gone on, like
the tiara,
the weed.
Oh, well, I thought you meant Marie stealing. Okay, my bad.
Well, Marie is stealing, and
like the tiara in the first season.
Yeah. He kind of tends to turn his head to like most things, but obviously the biggest meth empire in the Southwest, he couldn't turn his head to.
Yeah, I mean, the hints are everywhere. $500,000 in cash. All I had to do was open the bag. Anyway.
What you got in here, Rocks? $500,000 cash.
That's the spirit. He just told you.
What do you think WW stands for? Walter White?
You got me.
Got me.
It's like no! Got him!
I think, and not trying to jump too far ahead to season 5, but
Yeah.
like, I think when when he sees that and he puts two and two together in Walt's bathroom, I think what gets him most is the fact of everything that Walt has basically admitted to him multiple times that it's him, and he just didn't get it.
Yeah, Walt's like,
Walt's like, hey, it's fucking me, bro. Like, I'm the one making this shit. And he'd be like, yeah, that's a spirit.
Walt's blatantly told the truth in this show a lot. Like, and he even finds like little kernels of the truth. Like, I think it was I don't know if it was season 1 or 2. Yeah, I think it's season 2, right? Where he's talking about like, I just like to go on walks. I like the nature, and it's just, then it cuts to like the nature, right? But it's him and Jesse are out in the RV cooking meth, and it's like, I don't know. It's just fun. Yeah. And then just another quote on this one is like, he's bringing money into the car wash for her to launder. And, she's very upset by financial success. We know this by now about Skylar. And, so it's more than you thought, and this is somehow bad news? She's like, I never wanted any of this. It's like, yeah,
shut up.
Okay, but you could just turn your head the other way, maintain plausible deniability. As we talked about last time, we could just let Saul do the money laundering. You could carry on a happy marriage, act like none of this happened. That's what the mob wives do. Just act like you don't know what the fuck's going on. But instead, you gotta be all wishy-washy, which is like, nah, man.
Wishy-washy.
Pick a side.
Wishy-washy with a car wash.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's fitting. But just decide. Pick a side, man. You gonna suck or you gonna be cool? Anyway.
Speaking of car washes, I haven't seen a good car wash like that in a long time.
Well, yeah, they're all getting replaced by fucking moo-moos.
Fucking moo-moos and Take Fives and all this other bullshit.
Yeah.
Miss a good car wash like that, where they take the car, they drive it through, and then they hand detail it as it comes out. You get to wait in a little fucking lobby and buy drinks from a fucking pop machine that doesn't work, and look at the millions of air freshener scents you can buy, and knowing you're going to pick the same one you've picked every other time you've been in there. Vanilla.
You a vanilla guy?
I love vanilla.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, not sure what this is about. Oh, yes, I am. I said Jesse's totally a ride or die dude. Like, Walt says we got to kill someone. Jesse's like, let's get it done. Whereas if it's the other way around, Jesse says someone needs to die. Walt's like, you're overreacting. It's just funny.
Double standard.
This is when they decide, like, they need to kill Gus. So we get the rice and cigarette. The famous rice and cigarette that's always carried around. Like, that's, like, the thing I remember most about this show. Like, now that I'm rewatching it, it's such, like, a small part. But I felt like, for whatever reason, he was just carrying it around, like, this entire season into next season. I don't know why it was so prominent to me. I guess because they do kind of, Walt has to manufacture the looking for it, at the beginning of next season. But, yeah, anyway. But that was just such a big thing in my memory. So, yeah, they decide that. And then Jesse goes to that AA meeting, and he's like, he just comes up with, I don't know, I guess he had to tell somebody because, like, this guilt was just killing him inside about the whole Gale thing. But the whole thing about, like, yeah, I killed a dog. It was a problem dog. Did it bite somebody? No. Oh, was it dying? No. Were you high? No. It was like, you gotta come up with something different, man. Like, you can't. You just, oh god, it was bad. That was a cringy scene. He had to, like, tell somebody that he fucked up, but, like, he couldn't, and that was his way of doing it. But it's like, you're doing it all wrong, man. I don't know. Anyway.
Had to kill this dog.
It's like, you don't tell a bunch of people you killed a dog and that drugs didn't make you do it and have a half-assed explanation. But, and again, this is just one of the many moments that builds to he can't keep getting away with it in season 5.
Spoiler.
Yeah. It seems like a good time for a pause. You want to pause for a moment?
Good call. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's pause. And we're back. Ready?
Did you enjoy the commercial break?
Yep.
What was your favorite ad?
The one that we didn't have. All right. So, Walt begins to grow impatient with Jesse. I think he's impatient with him from the get-go, really, because every time he sees him, he's like, "Did you do it? Did you poison Walt? Did you poison Gus? Did you do it? Did you do it?" And it's like, "Hey, man, like, how do you think this is gonna go? Do you think Jesse just sees him and he's like, 'Hey, Gus, you want a cigarette?'" Like, how do
You smoke, right?
I don't know. It's just fucking goofy. And then, like, he goes to his house later. He gets invited to, Gus's house for dinner, as Walt did last season. And, he's like, Walt gets on him. He's like, "You were there for 2 hours and 8 minutes or whatever the fuck it was." And he's like, "And you didn't do it?" He's like, "It was just a big pot of stew. How do you think?"
Poison himself too?
Yeah.
And nothing.
Walt's just so not understanding.
And neither one of those interactions of the dinner between Walt and with Jesse, none of the food looked good. Nothing I would have ate.
It's essential. I mean, he's like, what? He's like putting fish in it.
Yeah,
and stuff.
nothing I would have ate.
Fish stew.
I was like, I'll have a piece of bread. You got bread? I'll have a slice of bread.
Can I get some butter?
Maybe a little side of butter. Like, it's weird, like fancy, like gluten-free butter. Plain bread.
It's fish butter.
It's fish butter.
What?
Just scrape the oil off the gills.
Oh. It's not cool, man. It's not cool. So then, we're in the situation of he's like starting to help out Hank with the investigation, which is funny because he's like, there's this tension already of like, you're helping your brother-in-law essentially investigate you, right? So it's like, fuck. And then, just the tension where he's like, put the tracker on the car. So in theory, Walt should have no problem putting the tracker on the car from Hank's point of view, right? He's like, what are you, fucking chemistry teacher, car wash owner? Fucking throw it on there. And then, I guess from the point of view of like, Gus's side of like, why would you put it on the car? Is what he thinks anyway. It's like, I'm not going to put it on the car. And then he, goes and talks to Gus. And then just the whole like, he's like, I didn't do it. And Gus is like, do it. Like, can I help you? So like just this tension that like no one thinks there's any tension except Walt. Walt's the only one like, oh, fuck. And everybody else is like, just relax, man. I don't know. Something about one person just thinking the stakes are sky
so much
high,
higher than what it really is.
and everybody else around him just being like, yeah, it's like, what are you, hypochondriac? That kind of thing, And then I like the scene of the little flashback with Gus's past, with the Don Eladio and them first starting the Los Pollos Hermanos.
You ever heard the theory on them? Maybe I've already said the theory in a previous episode. I don't know.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Supposedly, a theory that I read was that that Gus and what's his name, his business partner.
Yeah, I'm forgetting it, but go ahead. We'll call him Bob.
Bob is business partner.
Yeah.
Apparently, the theory is that they were lovers as well, and that's why Gus took it so hard.
Huh.
Interesting theory. The internet comes with some wild theories.
Sure.
But like that they were business partners, but they were also partners, and that's why he took it so hard.
I mean, the internet does come with wild shit, just like, Marcellus Wallace's soul was sucked out of the back of his head, and that's why he has the Band-Aid on in Pulp Fiction. I mean, it's wild theories, I get it. I mean, yeah, it's very well possible, and Gus always talks about this supposed family and kids, and you never see them. And he's got this big house. He's like, "Oh, my kids are always around, so I never get to make this Chilean sea bass stew or whatever the fuck it is." You know what I mean? And then, I mean, now granted, maybe that's strategic as far as Gus goes, like, separation of family and or church and state, for lack of a better term here, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know.
Could you really pick up on Gus? Could you really pick up with as long as we knew Gus in this series, of whether or not if he would have a wife or if he would have a husband?
I mean, that's also very true. I mean,
I couldn't pick it up either way.
It's kind of like that Seinfeld line, like, "Oh, it doesn't surprise me that Jerry'd be gay. He's just very neat." Same could be said for Gus. He's just very neat.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Not there's anything wrong with that. Of course. Yeah.
You're very neat.
Just defeated at the end. Of course. Yeah. God, that episode is just so great. When George, he calls George and he's like, "Hey, we fooled her," and then she's listening. It's like, like, fuck. Oh, it's so great. Anyway, so I can't find anything on the internet on this, but I was wondering if the flower in Skylar's office when she's talking to Ted was also Lily of the Valley. I can't find anything on it. I search fucking flower in Skylar office Ted. Every variation of that sentence I could think of, like Skylar Flower office, season 4, episode whatever the fuck it was. I didn't type in whatever the fuck it was. I typed in literally.
Maybe if you typed it in, it might have worked.
Yeah, maybe. But then I clicked on this link that had her and the flower was in the picture, and then it was like this dirty. I guess I didn't read the link quite as long, and it was just all the best pictures of her cleavage in the episode, and I was like, "What? Wait, what?" So that was a goofy link, and then that was a 5-minute detour.
How long did you stay on the link?
I don't know, man.
How long? It was I don't know. I lost track at 30 minutes.
Yeah,
There's a lot of pictures.
It's not a thing we discussed. It's not a big deal. But anyway, yeah. I thought maybe it was an early clue.
What was the name of the website?
Hold on. It's in my bookmarks. I'll get it to you. So I couldn't find anything on it. But I was wondering if that was an early clue of Lily of the Valley. Maybe that's a thing Skylar keeps around, and that's why it's in their backyard to begin with. But I'm even searching Reddit, flower Skylar office, and just nothing. It's rare that you type something into you figure there's weird subreddits for everything, and I'm thinking Lily of the Valley, Breaking Bad. I'm not finding anything on it, and the most it is people that couldn't figure out oh, they used the Lily of the Valley on Brock, people that just didn't put it together when the fucking flower's in his backyard at the end of the episode and they zoom in on it. It's yeah, I'm just asking about The Office, so I just decided it's...
Wait, he used the flower on Brock? What are you saying?
What are you saying?
Are you saying Walt did that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he poisoned a kid. It's fucked up, huh?
What? Are you sure it wasn't Gustavo?
Positive, man.
I don't believe Walt's a good guy. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're making that up. I don't believe that. I don't think anyone in their right mind would believe that.
Okay.
Yeah. Fucking liar.
You done? Okay. So again. Okay, I didn't know if that was your foot all the way over there.
No, that's my balls.
Oh, good. So So that was not, or maybe it was Lily of the Valley. I have no idea. Again, Skylar wants Walt legit. Just wants everything to be straight. She's like, hey, the car wash is making some money. You could quit your other job.
Gambling.
Yeah. And, like, you could tell he's just not fucking interested. He's just like, he's got on the phone with her and he's like, yes, okay, well. And just kind of ends the conversation, which sucks. But, and then we have the awesome shootout in Mexico. We have the trip down to Mexico. Jesse stands up for himself to the cartel guys. He's like, you don't know what the fuck you're, just tells them all, your fucking lab's a mess. You fucking, you cook shit, yada, yada, yada. Just going in on him. And he really stands up for himself, cooks some good product. You're like, yeah, that's a fucking Jesse win right there, God damn it. And then he saves the day in the end. Now, Gus, just fucking having everything, thought of everything down there, has everybody's blood type and the secret doctor and everything. I mean, it's just, Gus is just awesome. Like, he's really
like 5 steps ahead, always.
Like, there's an alternative storyline to me where Gus just wins against Walt, and I'm okay just following Gus around for the, foreseeable, another 5 seasons. Like, it's fine. I'll do it.
If only that could be an alternative spinoff.
Right. Oh, wait. I mean, how deep into, like, the Gus stuff do they go with
They go into a good bit of his past.
See, I like that. I will do Better Call Saul when I'm done with this, for sure, when we're done doing this. I don't know how soon we'll cover it, but,
Right away.
We'll definitely dive it. Well, I want to start, like, Sopranos a little bit, too.
You can do both. Just do one episode of Soprano, one episode of Better Call Saul, one episode. So you're like, so Tony Soprano went to Saul.
He started a chicken company.
And he got a lawyer.
And Saul whacked somebody?
Named Jimmy McGill.
Yeah. Not to be... yeah, okay, we're not doing this. So... let's see here. Oh, the other thing with Skylar was just, like, she wants him clean, wants the company to be legit, but, like, the company don't ever be legit because, like, according to her, there's way too much money to launder. So apparently they'll just be laundering money forever, which means the company will never quite be, like, clean, right? If they just have to launder money for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Moving on.
Really successful company.
Yeah. Oh, when Jesse goes to, apparently, a little couple of these. I think I'd jump ahead on some of these notes because it's just like, oh, well, this ties in, so why wait on this note? But I just have, like, I'm sure Gus loves cigarettes flicked about his front step. Because Jesse just kind of, like, right before Gus opens the door, which is just funny. Because Gus is neat. He's very neat.
Yeah, he's neat. Makes sense.
Yeah. Jesse going to Walt for help. I mean, we kind of discussed this too. Jesse going to Walt for help never goes well. Then the whole fight breaks out, and Walt always gets the shit kicked out of him by Jesse, but he always tries to fight him. Just goofy.
Who you think would win in real life, Bryan Cranston or Aaron Paul?
Well, nowadays, probably definitely Aaron Paul, because Cranston is only aging, right?
I mean, technically, so is Aaron Paul.
Well, right, but, like, Aaron Paul's probably what, like, 30s? I don't know, let's get an age check going. How old's Aaron Paul?
Aaron Paul is sitting... Why am I in images? And why is there a picture of a coffee mug when I Googled his name? The fuck? Aaron Paul is sitting at a lovely...
It's usually the...
43.
Okay. It's usually
Well,
the
it
first
wasn't-
thing that pops up.
Normally, it's the first thing that pops up, but then it just gave his birthday, and I was like, okay, I really don't want to do math, so I just scrolled a little bit, and it said 43. Sitting at 43, and good old Brian Cranston.
I'm pretty sure Cranston is over 65. Well, hold on.
If you were placing a bet, what would your spread be?
Well, this is an over-under, not a spread.
I'm just using the word spread for everything.
I'm going to say the over-under. I mean, I just feel like he's been around forever. You know, because like you think like he was an adult all the way back on Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Like he's Watley. So I'm gonna say the over under's 50, and I'm definitely going over. I'm not gonna go specific, but it's definitely over 50.
So you're going over 50.
Okay, let's say over under 55,
Over under 55.
and I'm still going over. I'm gonna say he's in his 60s. Final answer 62.
So you're going with 62 directly, or are you
Yeah.
going over 60?
It's over 55. I'm saying 62. That's my guess. What do we got? I'm saying 62.
66.
See, I was on the right track when I said over 65. You fuckface. Give me that
Am I going to give you hints when you're placing a bet? No. That's called insider trading.
Well, yeah.
Even though it's not stocks.
You favored the insider trading on you. You made it go the other way by giving me when I said because I don't know when I said over.
That's the game show host tactic. Are you sure?
Practicing for when Drew Carey retires?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on The Price is Right,
All right.
and then make people just not win stuff.
Okay.
My main goal.
Yeah, but this episode to me is another prime example. So I'm going Aaron Paul in that fight, obviously. So anyway, 68 is that what you said?
66.
Or 66. Okay.
How old do you think Gustavo is? Currently.
He's got some gray hair.
Yeah,
But
that's me
people
anything.
get gray hair at
Yeah,
any age. I mean, I know fucking 25-year-olds with gray hair.
I got a couple of gray hairs in my beard. I pluck them, but they still come back.
He shouldn't pluck because, I mean, it may be wives' tale, but
Probably an old wives'
don't they
tale.
say like you pluck one, like 3 more come back?
I thought it was shave. I don't know.
Oh, you gotta shave. What? The fuck are you talking about? Shave all the time. It's like I'm all gray now.
That's probably how it happens.
I don't know. No, you're just cutting the existing ones down like that. Okay. Anyway, what would that have to do? No, done. God damn it! What was the question?
How old do you think Gustavo is?
Oh, right.
You say, we have some gray hairs.
But yeah, anybody can have gray hair. But his face does look a little aged. And whatever show he's in, was it a movie or a show recently? I can't remember. Something on Netflix he's in. A show. And he looks kind of old there. Now, granted, if you're supposed to look old for a role. I'm going to go with... Give me 54 for Giancarlo Esposito.
54 exactly? You're going over under?
Yeah, 54 is my guess. Well, tell me the age. I'm not gonna fucking higher or lower. 55, 56, 57. Just tell me.
64.
Oh, he's in his 60s, so he's like around Cranston's age, huh?
64. You're off by 10 years. You sorry bastard.
Okay, you want to play that game? I can make you guess some stuff. No, we're not gonna.
How old do you think Anna Gwen is?
I'll look up Anna.
How old do you think she is?
Wait, did you look it
I
up?
already had it pulled up.
All right, well, let me look up somebody different. Let me look up.
And bonus points if you can tell me where she was born.
She looks young in the show, but although she's still got like some of the aging face features, you know what I mean? Not like in a bad way, but just like, oh, you look older. Give me. Wow, I don't know. I'm going to say she's in her 40s by now, because that was a while ago. It's like the show, you know? Oh, give me 45.
54.
Really? Well,
You're generous. You're you're underestimating everyone. You're generous.
She would be flattered.
Bonus points. Where was she born at?
Oh, I feel like they said this on the show too about where she was from, or in one of the commentaries where she was from, but I can't remember. I want to say it was somewhere like middle of the country-ish. Was it like a? I don't know. Just tell me.
Just make a guess.
Just make a state. Just
put
throw a
something out there.
state.
Yeah.
Let's say Missouri.
Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, middle of nowhere.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. That was fun.
Moving on. Tyler wins nothing.
Well, you didn't even guess anything. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you want? All right, let me see. Who do I want to say? Okay. How old is
And what's his name? Gustavo, the actor that plays Gustavo.
Giancarlo Esposito?
He has been active since '68.
Yeah?
Yeah. At least that's what Wikipedia said. Active since '68.
All right. What's something else you watch? Because I mean, you just looked at all the fucking Breaking Bad ages. We got to do a different show.
I just did just the ones that I listed. I'm still on Anna's page right now.
All right. Well, how old's Bob Odenkirk? Whoops, I forgot to write age.
Bob Odenkirk. I want to say he is... I'm going to go 60, and I'm guessing above.
Above 60?
Yeah.
No, he's 60 exactly.
God damn it. God damn it.
How old is Jonathan Banks?
Oh, I'm going. We'll go with 73.
76. Close. All right, one more. Who else is in the show? I don't remember Marie's actor's name, but
How old is that one prostitute?
no. How about
How old is the prostitute Jesse used to sleep with? No, she's a crackhead. They age weird.
Oops. How old is Mark Margolis, the guy that played Hector? Here's a better one. How old's Raymond Cruz, the guy that played Tuco?
I'm going to go with 64.
61. What? You guess that guy's that old, huh? I still would have said that guy's younger than that.
Well, see, that was the thing, because I was like, I know he's older than what he looks. He's aged pretty decently. So I was like, I'm still going to go higher.
Interesting. What else we got? Sorry. We need to end this. Because this is a lot. One more, though. If it's something weird. How old do you think RJ Mitty is? Walter Jr.
I want to say, how old am I? I'm 28.
How old am I?
I'm gonna go 30.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing that he was only a couple years older than me.
All right.
Hey, I win. What do I win?
The next note.
Hey.
So anyway, this whole episode to me is like the prime example of like kind of the epitome of this series in some ways, like dating back to the first season of, Jesse and Walt always dealing with these different problems. Like Walt's at home, he's like dealing with like,
White people problems.
well, like these suburbia problems, you know? Like, he got in a fight, he drank, he took some painkillers, he was all loopy. His fucking son comes over, you know, and then he's embarrassed that he was loopy in front of his son, and he cried and shit. Excuse me. And, you know, Jesse's down in Mexico, like, cooking for the cartel and shit. Which, you know, could be a game show. Cooking with the Cartel.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Or a cooking show. It'd be on like the Food Network.
For sure. You know, so like Jesse always gets stuck with some hard shit, and Walt's like dealing with these like white collar suburban problems, you know, and Walt's all like, "What was me?" You know, and like Jesse's actually like out dealing with some shit, you know. Which again, if you think, you know, back to kind of their origins, like neither of them have to be doing any of this at all. You know, Walt takes the money from Gretchen. Jesse just, you know, listens to his parents, you know, who like obviously have money and like are well off. Like all he has to do is kind of like stay within, you know, the rules of, you know. So it's like, it's such a show about choices, you know, ultimately. But just the funny thing, like, Walt thinks he's got it so hard, and Jesse's out doing the hard shit, you know. Like in season 2, you know, Walt's like, fucking Skyler's being a bitch, and then Jesse's like, I watched a guy's head get crushed, you know. And then Walt's like, come on, get up, you bitch. I don't know. Anyway. He's like, oh, come on, Jesse, we're trying to sell meth here. He's like, my girlfriend died. You know? It's like, Walt, you're such a dick. So, anyway. But this episode was also interesting to find out a little more about, like, why Walt has that pride. You know, why he like, didn't want the cancer treatment in the first place. You know, and why he's so prideful about, like, not taking Gretchen and Elliot's money, you know, just the looking back at his childhood. His dad got sick, and, you know, it's interesting to figure that out about him. It tells us a little more about why he is the way he is, even if he shouldn't be maybe the way he is. Yeah. I just said Jesse's such a better guy than Walt. Won't agree to let Walt be killed, but then Walt sells Jesse out later. Even though they both kind of turn on each other in the end, I suppose. Then I said, fucking Ted.
Fucking Ted.
And then the best part of this season, to me, is just like the laughing in the crawl space. Like the two best imagery things, like intensity things, is like the laughing in the crawl space and the blown up face on Gus in the end, like the very end. Anyway,
I'm trying to think back. The scene where Huel and Bill Burr's character went to Ted's house, was that this season?
yeah.
I like that scene where he went running and just
Yeah.
from the rug and just into the fucking whatever that was, and oranges and
It's
fucking
Kitchen
fall.
Island, yeah.
Was it the Kitchen Island? Fucking oranges fall down, and
Well, and they even established that rug's going to be a problem later, because he's like talking on the phone earlier, and he kind of like trips on that rug, and he, you know, turns back and like, what the fuck? And so they kind of established like, hey, remember this? Remember me? And then, you know,
good old trusty rug.
yeah,
Fucking stupid of Ted.
yeah.
Fucking
Just chill, man.
fucking
Just pay
chill.
the fucking IRS. This
they're
is your problem.
like they're there to tell you to pay the government,
Yeah.
and you're like, no,
Like typically what like thugs don't do.
just pay the government. And now they're there to tell you to pay the government.
It's like, you know, as far as, you know, encounters with organized crime, I mean, this is
Pretty
tame.
Yeah.
Pretty
relaxed.
pretty preferable, really, you know? But yeah. Anyway.
Fucking Ted.
That one is definitely a Godfather reference. The whole thing with oranges and the Godfather always means like, you know, death or physical harm. Like oranges always seem to be around, when like death happens or physical harm of some kind.
So what you're saying is I need to stop eating oranges.
No, this isn't Breaking Bad or The Godfather, so you're okay.
Or is it?
Well, I've eaten plenty of oranges in my life, and I'm okay. I mean, my left arm's tingling right now, but, you know.
Your brain's a little numb. Can you smell that color?
I smell my left eye getting droopy. Anyway. If you don't know what happens later, you don't realize the flower has everything to do with the events to come. Walt's sitting there, spinning the gun on the table, points at the flower. He's like... And, like, you know, until you know, you're just like...
Okay.
What the fuck's he looking at a flower for? Is he going to be a decorator?
His last name is going to be Flowers.
Yeah. So... And then, like, all right, so there's this, like, super intense scene. You know, Jesse finds out Brock's, you know, in the hospital and he's not doing well. And, you know, then... You know, Jesse can't find the rice and cigarette in his pack of cigarettes, and he's like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? Runs back in. And then, like, even, like, the intense moments, and then Jesse's, like, still just, like, how dumb he is kind of shines through, because it's like, he goes, just tell him it's rice, and it sounds like rice, okay? I don't know, it's just, I don't know, just an odd moment for it. Like, it's just still, like, he's like, you know, like you remember, like, back in season 1, you know, like, oh, like, or season 2, rather, like rice and beans. It's like, rice in it. Sounds like rice, okay? It's like, yeah, I hear you, man. Like,
it's like rice and beans. Tell me he ate some rice and beans.
Yeah.
Hold the beans.
And then, you know, Jesse goes over and threatens Walt and all this, and, like, what's sad is, like, Jesse has it right. But Walt just, you know, lies his way out of it and puts on a little show, right? So, approaching the end here. So Gus turns around, walks away from the car bomb, the whole situation, as we kind of discussed earlier,
which would also be later.
No, I mean earlier in this one. I think
we discussed it. Did we discuss it earlier?
Now you're confusing me.
I don't know. What is time anyway? Doesn't even exist.
It's all relative. But anyway, so Walt walks in, and he's got the fucking bomb in the bag, and he's over there talking, did you tell him anything? And then Jesse's like, can I... Like, my own question right now? Did you just bring a bomb into a hospital?
What else am I supposed to do with it, Jesse? I don't know, not bring it into a hospital?
Yeah, just, like, the fact that, like, you know, he's, like, carrying it around the hospital, you know, and then, like, he's getting out of the elevator, like, fucking sticks to the side of the elevator. He's, you know, walking it. Couldn't have been done any better. Honestly, it's great. Very neighborly to send your neighbor into your house to possibly get shot instead of you.
I mean, that's the neighbor way. I mean, hey, you know, we're from the Midwest. We don't lock our doors. So, Southwest, they send their neighbors in to get assassinated. Every part of the country has, you know, its own little quirks.
Yeah, I suppose. We got a good Saul quote here. If I ever get anal polyps, I'll know what to name them. If you two want to stick your wangs in a hornet's nest, it's a free country, but why do I always have to get sloppy seconds? And then, I mean, we kind of know what's going on. I just have a couple last notes here. You know, Walt arranges the whole... A lot of it's just Walt running around, waiting around... You know, waiting on the final shit to happen, right? So he arranges Hector to go see the DEA, draws Gus out, comes to see him in there.
I always love Hector talking to the DEA.
Yeah. F-U-C-K. Okay,
we got it.
Mm-hmm. Suckmydi. Yep. Okay, we're good. So, Walt rigs the bomb to the chair, and, Hector, it's kind of dumb. Like, I guess it's cool in a way that, like, both of them die at the same time, because you really didn't like Hector anyway. Like, he was a terrible person, earlier in his life. He's, like, kind of annoying when they're dealing with Tuco. And
Bell's fucking annoying.
Well, sure. Bing! He's annoying when they're dealing with Tuco. Like, fuck. Sorry. Annoying when they're dealing with Tuco. Then the Gus thing, and you're like, oh wow, this guy really does suck, and but I don't know if he deserves all this. Like, Gus, you kind of won. It's okay. Guy. Anyway, and then, but he stays true to who he is to the bitter end. He's just like, you know what? Blow myself up. That's what it takes. The fucking lip movements.
I don't know how the fuck he got that.
That's pretty good. It's a good face. Just the fucking the evil eyes at the end. Yeah.
Gustav was just like,
yeah. I'm like, oh fuck. But yeah, and then this is what I said is like, I mean, we know that Walt and Gus are pretty similar. But like Ego gets Gus killed. Like Gus, I feel like pretty much keeps his ego in check, but Walt finds the one chink in the armor there of like, Gus hates this fucking guy. Like, I'm gonna draw him out.
Ultimately, Ego's what got Walt killed.
I mean, yeah. I also think Walt had kind of like nothing to live for at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
but
the
like
cancer was back.
But he got himself to that position because of his ego. So
sure. Ultimately,
his
he
demise.
Eventually,
his demise was his ego. Because
he just assumed like, oh, you guys are gonna come live with me. Like we're going to the witness protection, and the family in the end of the show is like no, what the fuck? Like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, we're supposed to be a family. And then Walt's world just comes crashing down. He's like, wait, what? I thought I was doing this. I think he believed that so hard that
he actually believed it.
Yeah, and then he realized in the end when he had some isolation. He's essentially sitting in that fucking cabin alone.
The fucking barrel of money and.
Yeah, it's like, hey, yeah, here you go. Here's all you did for your family, buddy. Sitting in this fucking cabin alone with your money.
With fucking 5 movies and 2 of them are copies of the same movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny.
God, they couldn't even get him. They couldn't even get him any like fucking like satellite or some shit like that. Like he just had fucking just one, a handful of movies, and like that was it. I'd go crazy. I'd rather just fucking die at that point. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I mean that's a good point. I mean, the whole reason he even feels like he has nothing to live for, I suppose, is due to ego. So, yeah, it's an interesting point.
Because I mean, as we discussed earlier in this episode, that he would have been perfectly fine if he just didn't have to have this ego attached to what he was doing to be known that it was him doing it.
Right.
Otherwise, it would have stopped at Gale and.
Or he would have just taken the money from Gretchen Elliott, never would have got back into this shit, Yeah.
Or maybe he just would never sold out gray matter and, would never have to, deal with Skyler. Or Walt Jr.
Yeah.
Or Marie.
Oh.
Ugh. Ugh.
So, but that's definitely the coolest shot of the show is just Gus's fucking
face.
You know, blown up face.
You know, the first time I'd watched through this, and I've told you this story before. I was watching, season 4, and I dozed off watching. I don't know what episode it was on, but I just remember waking up in the middle, like 11 or 12 o'clock in the middle of the night or whatever, from a noise of an explosion. And I remember rolling over my bed looking at TV, and it was just Gustavo with half his face blown off, and he collapses. And I was like, all right, clearly I missed way too much in the time I was asleep, and I need to restart this over. And I just turned off the TV. I was like, I don't know what I missed, but I obviously missed something important.
Yeah.
Because now Gustavo has half of his face gone.
How is he going to be the face of the company like this?
This is not a good look for you, Gustavo.
It's not good.
Not a good look.
Yeah. So Jesse and Walt, they go back. Walt saves Jesse. Kind of, going back into the lab, shooting those two guys that were making Jesse work, however you want to define it, whatever. Jesse's chained to the fucking equipment, making meth, right? Which, foreshadowing for later, but they rigged the whole place to blow. They're kind of walking out like it's fine. Just like, come on, fire. They pull the fire alarm. Let's go. And then, once you get the first, everybody's like, oh, fuck. And everybody starts running.
Were all those employees?
They didn't mention anything on that part of it.
Good question.
Yeah, most of the time they do say, all of those are just laundromat employees. So, they didn't comment there, but, maybe they just told everybody, hey, you're going to run now.
Hey, we put a bomb under the building and we're going to detonate it. When it detonates, we need you to run.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, final thoughts of the season is Walt's a piece of shit. Skyler doesn't like that he blew the place up. Killed Gus, This is where the whole her being scared of him thing starts, which is just fucking annoying. But Jesse's a good guy, and this was the best season yet.
And it only gets better.
Or does it?
Pew, pew, pew.
All right. So, quotes. I think we read most of the quotes. Yes. And then I think that will just leave us with the box score.
Hey!
How many deaths do you think we got?
How many deaths?
Do not Google deaths in season 4.
I'm not Googling. I'm literally just looking. I'm literally just looking through the episode guide.
It's a quick thing.
No,
Don't
I know.
draw it out.
I'm not trying to draw it out. 7.
7?
I don't know. You said it's a quick thing, so I went quick.
Okay, 26.
Okay, close enough.
Oh, just a lot of shit happened. I thought. Anyway, the only one I was questioning was, do we count Gail's death?
No.
All right, it's 25. But technically, you don't see Gail die on screen in season 3. You don't see him on the ground dead.
Isn't it the same debate we had last season about the
seasons overlapping?
Yeah, the seasons overlapping.
Yeah.
I feel like we had this debate last season, and I was right.
Well, I think you feel that way about any argument you have.
It's not my fault I'm always right. You should try it sometime.
Untouched veggie trays. You know the answer.
Uno.
Yeah. Godfather references. Now, granted, I don't know how intentional it was. I said it was 4 because there was a couple things I could see.
I'm going with 2 because there was only 2 that you've mentioned in this podcast that I remember.
Okay.
Going with my safe bet of 2.
Well, it's 4.
I also
to
can't,
me.
I also can't pick up on Godfather references.
Well, see, and
I've seen the movie.
I don't know if like they meant it this way. I kind of assume because in season 2, they referenced The Godfather like literally with their quotes and saying, Hank said like, just when I'm out, when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. That's a Godfather 3 reference. And then, when Walt meets Saul and he's starting to get into, the Saul thing, about Saul laundering money and everything. And Saul's like, oh, I'll be the, what'd Tom Hagen do for Vito Corleone? Yada, yada, right? So I just assume when I see things visually that it's kind of a Godfather thing. So the oranges being around when there's death or, kind of physical harm for the Ted scene, that's one definitely. Put in a good word for me with Gus for old time's sake when he says it to Jesse. That's something this guy Tessio says to Tom Hagen when Michael's having him killed at the end of the first Godfather. I just kind of saw it as that. Granted, Saul doesn't get killed, so maybe it's iffy. Maybe they didn't mean it that way. Just my interpretation. And then there's Gus dropping the box cutter because there's the notorious scene in the first Godfather where Michael, kills the police captain and the guy who had his dad shot, and the whole thing that, this guy Clemenza keeps telling him is like, you shoot the guy, you drop the gun in the restaurant, and so the whole thing about like the gun dropping on the floor after you do the deed, it's just like you just get rid of it. So I took the box cutter drop by Gus and the gun drop after, Walt kills those 2 guys. I took it as a Godfather reference both those times, but so to me, those were 4 Godfather references. Maybe the connection is meaningless and it wasn't intentional. I know the oranges for sure was. Like that's got to be. They kind of like even talked a little bit about it, not being like, oh hey, this is a god, but they were like, oh, did you mean for that to be? Like, yeah, it was definitely a consideration. So I know the oranges, but anyway, the rest of those were just me pretty much. Explosions.
There's a fucking car. Then there is the... I'm going with 2. There's only 2 I can think of.
3.
3.
Challenger nursing home laundry.
Oh, fuck. I'm stupid. Because I counted the fucking laundry in the Challenger. I didn't fucking count the goddamn nursing home. Fuck, I'm stupid.
Skylar white girl moments.
83.
I said 9. Locksmith, I'm not leaving, and the frozen peas black eye thing. Dinner script, driving to the Four Corners, too much money storage vacuum bags in closet, persuades IRS guy with breasts, PT Cruiser, and on the phone with Walt after he wins against Gus.
PT Cruiser, that's just an insult.
Bangs briefly shown or implied.
1.
Yeah. Immigrants deported.
0?
3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they went down into the thing.
You got any bed summaries?
No, I don't for this one.
I have 2. First is when white privilege goes wrong. And the second, ricin. It sounds like rice.
That sounds like that could be like a product motto for that.
Like sounds like rice.
Just like a commercial. Ricin. Sounds like rice. Find us in the dairy section.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Just a 10-second ad on YouTube. It's the one you can't skip either. Ricin. Sounds like rice. Find us in the dairy aisle.
Yeah. All right. So brings us to the end of season 4. You pretty excited for season 5?
I'm ready for season 5. It's the conclusion season.
Indeed. No little El Camino after that.
Brings everything full circle.
Okay, so if you're seeing this is after season 4. A lot of people get bored with the special features shit, but I find it fun, so I was just going to put it at the end. And that way, if you're trying to listen to a podcast about Breaking Bad season 4, you can do that, and then see
Special
this if
features at
you're
the end.
interested in the special features shit that I'd get off the box set. So that's what this is.
So let's bring on the special features.
Yeah. So, and you're probably not interested in the special features either.
Actually, I kind of want to hear it.
But
I am interested in special features. I like the series. I like to know the little tad bits, especially my favorite one about Walt jerking off, but it turns into him throwing up.
that is a good one. Reference season 1 podcast for that one.
I think that's my favorite one. It's just hilarious. But then now when you see that scene, you're just like,
You're like, yep, I know what that is.
he's jacking off.
Yeah. So I divided it into a couple categories. I have casting, the effects, locations, and alt/deleted/extended scenes. So if we start at casting, also one directing note within the casting, I didn't know where else to put it. David Slade, not Spade.
Oh.
Slade. He's a British director, and so there's the scene, and I can't remember which episode it is, but if you notice, there's the one episode where Walt's changing out of his lab clothes at the lab, and he's like putting on pants, and he's in his underwear again, which doesn't really make any sense. Like, he hasn't really done that in a while. They're putting on the big, suits over the kind of hazmat suit deals over their clothes, so he hasn't done that in a while. Excuse me, but apparently what he said was, if I'm going to direct an episode of Breaking Bad, and this is the only episode of Breaking Bad he ever did, he said, if I'm going to direct an episode of Breaking Bad, Walter White's going to be in his whitey tighties. So that was the express purpose for that one, which I thought was funny.
And that was David Spade that said that?
Slade.
So Joe Dirt?
Like with an L.
Joe Dirt?
No.
Oh.
Slade.
Spade.
As if I slayed the dragon. You don't spade the dragon.
I mean, you might if you don't want it reproducing.
Maybe the one from Shrek, right?
You're mispronouncing. It's Spade.
Okay. Next. So we all know Bogdan. He pops back up in this season.
Good old eyebrows.
Yeah, good old eyebrows. He pops back up this season. They buy the car wash from him. So, funny story about Bogdan getting that part. I should have wrote down his actual name. I just like things you think about when it's too late, But, so Bogdan's family wanted to be on TV. It was like his wife and daughter or something like that. And so he drives them down to audition to be extras, like when they're doing the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And so they saw him, the casting people. They see the dude playing Bogdan, and they're like, "Hey, can we take your photo for casting?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." So they photograph him, and then Vince sees the photograph, and he's like, "That's the guy I want for the car wash." And so then that's how he gets that part. And he's never acted before that. And apparently he's actually kind of Walter White-ish, because he's like a nuclear scientist. Like in real life.
What's funny, so I just looked it up just to figure out the dude's name. And like as you were saying that, I was reading where it says that he has a PhD in chemistry.
Yeah.
And he's from Romania.
Yeah. And his name is?
Maurice Stan. I think that's how you pronounce it.
There you go.
Maurice Stan.
So that's a fun tidbit. So the cartel meeting with young Gustavo, Gus's little flashback there. It's kind of like a Scarface reunion, because you got Stephen Bauer, who played Manny in Scarface.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Mark Margolis, who, obviously is playing Hector there. But he was the Shadow. He was this assassin dude in Scarface. And what's funny about him, Vince was saying, is that he's just this old Jewish guy from New York that doesn't speak any Spanish, but he always gets these roles where he plays Hispanic dudes. So, part of our casting here is we have a drug dog So the dog that was, with Gomez and the other guy. It's a legit drug dog, and the guy with the dog is an actual like Mexico State Trooper. And that's not his dog, is what Vince said. But the fun fact here was that apparently these guys that have these drug sniffing dogs, they're legally allowed to carry like a small amount of drugs, so that they can. Because apparently, if the dog searches all this time and they don't find anything, they get discouraged and they actually like kind of do a worse job, and it's a whole thing for their morale.
If I don't get my Coke, I'm gonna be pissed.
Right. And so if they don't find it, so that they're allowed to carry like, I don't think they said like a specific amount, but a small amount of drugs, so then they can like plant it somewhere and have the dog find it, and then the dog doesn't get discouraged. So that's fun. And then Vince Gilligan's mom plays Becky, the neighbor that checks on the house when Walt's like, I'll send my neighbor in to maybe get assassinated. Let's see how that goes.
That's a safe route. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better her than me.
Right. So that's Vince Gilligan's mom. So if we move into the effects, so 2 different times we have guards in the Los Pollos Hermanos trucks that, because they're guarding for the deliveries, right? So both of these times for the seeing their breath effects, they put this little cage in their mouth with a piece of dry ice in it. And so that way you can see their breath. And so, yeah, it stays in the cage, and then they exhale, and you have that effect. So kind of a cool thing. Seems like you could just, I guess you'd have to have access to like a refrigerator freezer truck. So that would
probably be, I mean, I feel like that wouldn't be that difficult. I don't know. You want to get some dry ice and put it in your mouth and see, just talk to
budget, man. It's all budget.
We can get a cheap one at CVS.
No budget for them. We're not doing this. What?
Oh.
What are we talking about here?
I think we should.
Okay.
Just keep shoving our mouth full of dry ice.
No, that's why they had to build the cage, because it'll fucking burn you. I can't remember the lady's name, but I think she was talking about they did the same thing, and excuse me, dude, like I think it was the cage wasn't built right. I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but dry ice fell out, burned the inside of his mouth. It was a whole thing. So yeah. So that's what Jonathan Banks and then those other 2 guys that played guards did to see their breath in there. So kind of cool. Michael Flowers, he's the set decorator for the show, and he said that they do their research pretty well as far as the lab goes.
Isn't that such a one hell of a last name, and like that's the profession you're gonna have, Flowers, and you're a decorator.
You're a decorator. Yeah, no,
it's kind of like you were born for it. His whole life he grew up and he knew he was going to be a decorator.
Yeah.
His parents looked and said,
or a florist.
Or a florist.
Yeah.
He had 2 paths in life.
Or a gardener, maybe.
He had
landscaper.
He had 2 paths in life. It was either something with flowers or decorator.
Yeah. True. So he was talking about how they really did their research. They couldn't find out like all the specifics, but the lab that they have set up could probably make meth. And a lot of the stuff in there is used when you make toothpaste. Is what a lot of the stuff is for, actually. He said the meth is it's the rock candy that you turn into cotton candy. And he goes, so all these sets, they all smell like you're at the fair because it smells like cotton candy. Because they have rock candy everywhere.
I remember seeing that that all the the ice, the blue crystal was all just blue, tinted rock candy, and I was like, I bet you it probably tastes delicious.
Yeah. Well, then they were talking about, so they do not fill those totes up, those like 200-pound totes.
They probably would do like the outside, and then
they do the whole the empty box in the middle, and then just fill it in with the rock candy.
Could you imagine
fucking old ass Bryan Cranston?
And
like,
totes of of fucking rock candy.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like they can reuse the same totes. They have to make a fresh batch every time. That'd be, you know what? That would show true dedication, but probably a budgetary problem. If every single time they had to film that scene, they made all brand new rock candy, smash it up, and put it in totes and weighed it to that exact spec.
Yeah.
That'd be dedication.
It would be. Or it's stupidity. One of the two. Not quite sure.
Dedication.
Which.
A lot of rock candy. They could sell it.
Tomato, tomato.
Big enough following, and they could easily sell it online, like Blue Crystal Rock Candy from Breaking Bad.
This is true.
BreakingBad.com. BreakingBad.amc.com.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's that. And then we got... Okay, so the scene where Jesse, saves the day or what have you, right? When he's on all those drops with Mike, or pickups with Mike rather. And there's that scene where he drives from the passenger seat, backs the car up, hits that other car and drives off, right? So in order to do that scene, Aaron Paul is not a skilled from the passenger seat driver. So how they did that was actually really cool. And if you want YouTube, this is kind of cool. But so they take off that half, it's that big bench seat, right? And so they take half of that off, and they put a lower chair in there, right? So it's like basically on the floor, kind of a little higher, and then put him in the seat, and then they, put a bench seat back in over him, and then the headrest or upper part of the bench, you know what I mean. So there's this little gap so he can see out of it. And then they put a mesh over it that's the same color as the seat. And then so he's basically just driving with the mirrors, and he's just got he's got to drive with on the bottom of the wheel, so they can't see him. And, I went frame by frame on so many of the shots of that episode, you really can't notice, the hole in which he sees, because, obviously they're not trying to highlight, the secrets, right? But it was really cool, and yeah, they just blend him right in there. So pretty cool, if you ask me.
It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah. So then, all right. So most of the scenes aren't filmed. Most of the scenes at the White residence. I just said residence. You say White House all the time. You can only say White House so many times before you feel stupid. Most of that is shot on a soundstage. Like the inside of that house, looks almost nothing like the actual stuff in the show. Is what Vince was saying.
Really?
Yeah. So the majority of that is on a soundstage, right? So that means there's no pool in the backyard, right? So they said in order, at night, to have that effect, like you're seeing the reflection of the pool water on the curtains, that they have a box of pieces of broken mirrors in water, and then however they arrange it to have lights, and that shit's reflecting off of the window. So they basically built that whole inside of that house, and then they're reflecting that bullshit off the window for the night scenes. And then there's somebody just sitting there, just keeping it moving, right? So.
Did you know that before that?
No.
See, the whole time I thought it was shot inside the house.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I really they did good on that, because the whole time I thought that was shot inside the house.
Yeah, and on the outside they even had when you open that front door, they even have a part built to where it matches the real house. So it's funny, and I don't know if it was last season when it's Walt comes by and Skyler's they're talking in the driveway, right? So then there's the one part where he's at the door, and they're still okay, that's the sound stage, right? And they're actually outside, but they're still within that entryway of going up towards the front door. And so they're oh, actually this right here, this is on the sound stage. This is on the set back at the studio. And then they walk around the corner and like, okay, now they're at the house, because they don't have like the garage and shit, right? So you can only go so far. So those scenes are interesting. Like anytime Skylar like opens the front door, and somebody's outside, like they're just talking. Like there's a reason the camera's never like kind of like that, so to see like the street or whatever, because they don't have that. So we're right here. And then lighting is a hell of a. I mean, lighting's amazing. The what's that dude's name? Director of photography. Michael Slovis, I think, is what his name was. Yeah, and like a lot of that shit was on sound stages. Like the inside of Jesse's condo that was attached to Jane's place. When they opened the door, because we didn't get to do the special features on season 2, because that was the whole thing. But when you'd open the door at Jane's place, you notice you only kind of see the light coming in the door.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the outside, and that's because they have lighting. Just like, okay, it's really bright outside, and then, and they have to be very careful with the camera angles as to not show you just the soundstage.
That's kind of disappointing.
Yeah,
like the whole time I thought like it was actually filmed inside the house, which I mean it's not saying that it makes me think less of it, but like I don't know, maybe just it seemed a little cooler, like thinking like, oh, there's really a house that just like looks exactly like this on the inside. It's kind of like when I got older and I found out that the house, the movie A Christmas Story, that the house that that it was shot at, that's up in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. That they did the exterior shots at the house, but the inside was on a soundstage, and the inside of that house looks absolutely nothing like. Yeah. So like I've my wife suggested before, how about we go to the Christmas Story house in Cleveland since you love that movie so much? I'm like, nah, because it doesn't look. Because I've seen pictures of it. Does not look like they try to make it look as much like the set, but like it's not. And I'm like, if it's not the real thing, I don't want it.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, if you start digging into this shit, you realize that like almost nothing. Your whole childhood's a lie. It's like, oh, none of that. Like, there's not a sweet. I remember when I was a kid, like watching Drake and Josh. And like they had this cool loft bedroom, and then, like the kitchen was cool, and I remember like the Drake and Josh house would be sweet. But like, granted, I haven't researched that, but like 9 times out of 10, it's a fucking Nickelodeon show. I'm sure they got a big ass soundstage. I'm sure they just built all those sets, and you know what I mean. Like it's almost you start looking into how TV and movies are done, and you're like, oh, this is probably almost all definitely just fake. That house doesn't look anything like that on the inside. Likely, I mean, you don't know.
Well, I mean, I picked it up from like younger age was the Full House. Even from a younger age, like once I started like looking, I'm like, I don't know, it just doesn't match up with how the outside looks. And obviously we know that, with the fucking, live studio audience. Yeah. That,
Yeah, how's that work? Are they coming in live? So, that's trash cans outside. It's all good. Yeah.
That's just kind of, I don't know, that's kind of a little bit disappointing. I thought that's just what the house looked like. So my question is, and maybe it's something I can obviously Google, but like, so the owner of that house, of Walter White's house, did they just like, so obviously they got permission to use her house for scenes and for the show and stuff like that, and she got money for it, obviously. So like, did they, during filming seasons, did they put her up in a hotel room or something so they could film there, or like?
Well, they really just need the outside. Like they don't need the inside because they do that. I think they knew, like, okay, if we do filming on the inside, like, we're just going to kick these people out. You know what I mean? Now, they didn't mention any of this, but I imagine. But he probably had, if I had to guess, I mean, he probably had a vision of how he wanted that inside of that house to be. So he probably just found something that was like, kind of close. They built the whole thing on the soundstage, and I mean, yeah, I don't think it'd be practical to just be like, all right, get out.
I guess I could say it's kind of like
Now, it's one thing that's interesting on that note is the fact that Hank and Marie's house is like one of the only houses they actually shoot in. Apparently, a handicapped gentleman and his wife live there, and so they were talking about how like that house is just big, spacious, wide corners and shit. So it's actually like really ideal to shoot there. Whereas like a normal house, I mean, you imagine trying to film a show in here.
It's hard enough trying to film.
It's
a
hard
podcast
enough just
in
trying
here.
to throw these cameras up at the right angles and I'm sure like if anybody's at home like why is the camera angle like that? I know I'm not a cameraman. I'm not a director of photography over here.
We need to hire Vince Gilligan.
No, Michael Slovis. But
to direct our podcasts.
yeah, I don't know that you can.
We might be cooking meth afterwards, but I'm fine with that.
So that's like one of the only houses they shoot in, and fuck, if we're on location notes at this point, I don't know. I mean, we'll stick to the White House, and then I'll do the rest of the special features. But the thing is on that, so they do a little bit of filming in Jesse's house, and then so that is what the inside of that house looks like. But then when there was all the crazy partying shit happening, they did not do that there, and they built that replica of that house on the soundstage, and that's where all the trashy party shit happened, where the house was torn up and
they want to do that in real life.
No, yeah, I mean, because I think I mentioned it last season, but the reason they had to even have Jesse move out
was because the house sold.
Because the house did sell, and then the person that bought the house fixed it up, like added to the house, and that was like, oh yeah, you can rent it and shoot here again if you want. And then they were like, oh cool, and so hence the storyline of the buyback and everything, which but yeah, they did not tear the fuck out of that house and all that during all those scenes.
He just renovated and they just tear the shit out of it.
Yeah. So there's that. We talked about Hank's house, and then the white residence actually so it's on a soundstage, right? So you have water hookups to like use the sink, right? So if they need the sink for a scene or whatever, they have it, but there's no like actual plumbing, to drain anything. So there's a bucket under the sink basically, so they can turn the water on for a scene and then like turn it off, and then if they have multiple takes, they gotta empty the bucket. And,
they just open up the window and throw it out the window onto the floor of the soundstage.
Yeah. Some guys over there with the fucking lights. He's like, hey, what the fuck? Yeah.
Good enough.
Motherfuckers. Goddamn actors think they own a place. And then the crawl space. Anytime he's in the crawl space, because obviously we're not at the house, like that house is a slab. So that house doesn't even have a crawl space. So they actually built the crawl space in the studio, right? And so I think, I should have wrote down how big it was, but it can't be more than like a 10 by 10. And it's kind of like up on a lifted platform. And then they had to put all the fake cobwebs and shit in there, like make it look like it's a dusty, nasty crawl space. And, put the fucking sand or whatever the fuck's down there, kitty litter. I don't know what the hell they put down there.
So then that makes me think on the scene when he and I'm drawing a blank on if it was this season or a different season, but when he gets to the house and he gets into the house via the crawl space. Mm-hmm. So
very cleverly shot.
Because the whole time
you have to basically show him like getting in, and then you got to change around and
see sky and pool.
Yeah, it's a whole. There's a reason like he's not like completely in. Like he's still like going in because he can't go in there.
There's nothing there.
Yeah. And that so then they had to build that room then over top of the crawl space, and so that whole stand is kind of cool. And so then they show him like in the crawl, for like the scene when he's sitting there laughing and everything, in episode 11. So that's a pretty cool thing. Anyway, so kind of back to the, I didn't know if to put this into special effects, or I didn't really have a category for it. I guess I limited myself on the categories. But there's the episode where Jesse's playing Rage. Mm-hmm. When he's still dealing with the, trauma over the Gale situation. Fun fact about that game, Matt Jones, who plays Badger in real life, he, voiced the character in that game, Gabe. So that's kind of cool.
Huh.
And then, so anyway, Jesse's going through the game, and then you come up to that first corner, and then he turns the corner, right? And so in the commentary, they're like, okay, there's the Easter egg right there. Okay, and there it goes. And he's like, we're not going to give it away. And I'm like, that's why I watch the commentary. Give it away, please. Can you give away the Easter egg? So basically, Gale is written on the wall. And it was a special version that Rage put out to them just for this certain thing. But yeah, Gale's written on the wall. And you don't know, like, it took me like a couple times, but like the G's back, like all the letters are backwards. Mm-hmm. And so you don't necessarily like figure it, like it doesn't register right away that it says something. I just thought it was some like goofy, I thought it was like honestly a different language or some shit they put on the wall. But it says Gale, but all the letters are backwards. It's like that right before he turns that first corner in the game. So that's pretty cool. And then apparently if you, so obviously that was a modified version of the game for the show. And then apparently in the real game, like since that Breaking Bad came out, you can find the Tuco's grill encased in glass. You can find that like on a shelf in some room or something somewhere. Yeah. So that's in like the real game now. So that's kind of cool. A couple more special effects stuff. The Walt Joyride and the Challenger before they blow the fucker up.
You mean the Chrysler Promotion Part 1?
See, I don't think they were quite sponsored, but I'm curious to watch commentary once we get to season 5.
See if that's mentioned, because that was obviously fucking product placement.
Because when in the commentary for this episode with the Challenger and the last episode with the Challenger, they were kind of like, oh, and Chrysler's such a great company. We would love for them to sponsor, like, kind of doing that whole deal. So I think they just like picked out a Challenger for this one. So I am pretty suspicious. I'm pretty sure that Chrysler probably paid them a little bit to do the thing next season, but
they did the thing. We all know the thing.
We all know the thing.
We all know
the Chrysler commercial in the intro of the episode.
Bad.
Yeah. So we'll see, but I can tell you they were not paid for the season 4 part, because they were like, yeah, it'd be really awesome. Chrysler, Chrysler, it's a great car, So kind of doing that whole thing, but. So for that scene where he takes his little joyride, does the donuts and everything, and then blows the car up, they had what?
Chevy's a pretty good car. It'd be pretty cool if they would sponsor us.
Yeah.
I mean, I could definitely drive a 2023 Camaro here. Hit me up, Chevy.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, buddy. So they had 3 cars to shoot that scene. One of them to do the donuts, one of them to blow up, and one of them to like get stuck. So
it's a lot of money spent.
Yeah.
What if they got a discount?
Hopefully. So there's that, and then the tire marks were digitally added. I don't know. They did say, because there's that one shot, this is just kind of me thinking something's cool, and nobody will probably care, but. There's the one shot where the car's sliding and it kind of goes over the camera. He said they kind of did a little hole there and they put the camera in it, and then the car slid over top. Oh, just kind of cool.
Was it Walt that did the donuts, or did they pay a professional driver? It'd be kind of cool.
They didn't mention
it'd
that.
be kind of cool if Bryan Cranston was the one doing the donuts.
I would kind of assume that it's not Bryan Cranston, but I don't know. They didn't really talk about it. So
I think more actors should just like Tom Cruise their shows and movies and just do their own shit.
Yeah.
Learn how to do it and make it more authentic. My opinion.
Yeah.
Like Tom Cruise hanging onto a fucking jet, apparently.
Exactly.
Was that?
I think it was 4? There's too many of those goddamn things.
It was
Mission Impossible. Yeah.
No, it was.
No.
The recent movie. It's on Paramount Plus. What is it? Top Gun.
He held on to a jet?
Yeah.
Well, he flew jets in Top Gun, both of those movies. The new
Supposedly,
Maverick movie.
there because there was a scene in.
If there's a scene where he's hanging onto a plane, I'm pretty sure we're talking about. I don't know. This seems like an odd time to get into this, though.
Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. Right. But I don't think he was holding on to a jet in that. I think he flew a plane. He flew planes. Seems like a weird time to get into this, though.
Yeah, very well. Okay.
Okay.
We'll get back to it. We'll look into it later.
Yeah, let's do that. But I'm pretty sure when he held on to the outside of a plane was one of the Mission Impossible movies. But he flew planes, and all right, we're done with Top Gun. Or Tom Cruise and everything. All right. So this is a goofy one, and I didn't know where to put this one. But in Saul's safe, they have the little camera angle of like within the safe when he's getting in there to grab money. And apparently, and you can't really make it out when you're watching. So kind of took us with a grain of salt, but like they were like, oh yeah, in Saul's safe there's a mummified hand there in the corner. I'm like, what? And I mean, I paused it. I mean, I guess I can kind of make out that it would be that over there in the corner. But I mean, if no one said that, like, I just figured it was just some bullshit over in the corner, you know? So that's something they mentioned.
I wonder what significance that plays, because
I mean, none. Like, it never comes up in the rest of the series, you know? So it's kind of like,
and like,
what was that? I think it's just one of those Easter eggs just to fuck with people, but you can't even fucking tell that it is a hand over there, so it's kind of goofy. But yeah, just kind of one of those stupid things. And then we go to kind of the end of the season, some of the special effects for some of this, because so apparently they could not use an air cannon to blast the door off, you know, for that last, because obviously they didn't set a bomb off.
Oh, the
room for the nursing home.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember I watched a bunch of behind the scene things of that scene on YouTube.
Yeah, it's like a nitrogen doing something with the building up the pressure, and then it just blasts the door off. And they said if they used an air cannon, then there would be white smoke, and like it just wouldn't look right. And so then what they were saying was they had to paint the room black. You know, as if it was burnt.
Mm-hmm.
Just, again, they couldn't just set a bomb off in the room.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it was an abandoned nursing home, so
not like there's any old people actually there.
Got to pay extra. I think he was saying that they were starting to like renovate and get it back up and running. So they probably wouldn't appreciate them blowing a hole in the building, but just, I mean, in the details, when they were talking about the details, then you have, like, the blown-up wheelchair with the hole in the middle and shit. Like, it's just fun. So that's cool. And then, you know, with all the debris and everything, so you have that initial shot, and then they had to kind of CGI some of the debris back in because they needed to have a path, you know, for the whole camera to kind of wheel in. So they had to CGI that back in. They also had to CGI his face, but he had a great deal of makeup and shit on his face, so they kind of knew where to. Yeah, he had
because they did, because I watched a scene where they basically they put that makeup on and like do that, and you can obviously tell that it's, you know, just a layer of makeup, but then they CGI and get it like, you know.
But I mean, the thing looks fucking
the thing looks
legit
gross
when it's on there.
But it looks even more gross with the CGI.
Yeah, I mean that's the dude, you know, Greg Nicotero from, you know, that does all the Walking Dead shit. His company KMD Effects. So they did a fantastic job there, obviously, on his face.
When I was watching it, because they had during the filming of that scene, they had, you know, someone in the background with like just a regular like camera, kind of like recording the behind the scenes stuff, and like the only person that was out whenever they'd kick off the little hydrogen to blow the door off is the cameraman. Mm-hmm. Everyone else had to go and take cover in a whole different room because of, you know, hey, this might kill someone.
Yeah.
So you just hear clear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And apparently they did 19 takes of Gus falling down till they got the perfect one. And Vince was like, and we did use number 19. So I don't feel bad for making him do those takes.
Yeah, because, like, I remember during that, like, every single time they did it, Vince, in that video I watched, Vince would just be like, no.
Yeah, like the first. Yeah, I remember the first take. I think his legit quote was like, "We're nowhere close to perfect on that." I was like, "Oh man." Okay, season 4 must have been one of the DVDs I gave you, right? Or did you just find that on YouTube?
You gave me. I found that on YouTube. You gave me.
Okay.
You gave me 1 to 3, and I collected 4 and 5 later on.
I see. Okay.
But
Yeah,
I
'cause
found.
this is where
I found that
anything.
one. I found that one on YouTube.
Anything I'm reading here is, from the from the special features.
So they
I wonder if
they
that's
ripped
just
that and
ripped
put it
from-
straight to
yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
'Cause you look up one thing Breaking Bad on YouTube, and all of a sudden your whole algorithm is fucking Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Yeah, because every jackass on the internet with a podcast, us.
Yeah, jack offs.
You know, like, oh, well, maybe you'll like to hear me talk about Breaking Bad. So, the other cool thing on the special effects, and this is the last one, is when they blow up the super lab. So that was not like all flammable chemicals that they put on the floor of the lab. It was just water. But it wasn't fake fire. I was always, they didn't blow the place up. But they sprayed what they called white gas on top of the water. And then, so they light it. And so basically, it's, it just kind of like all burns up real quick. But that, shot you have of the, the fire slowly, spreading to everything, that is real. That is a real shot of, the shit burning. It just went out right after.
And
so they didn't blow the place up.
And the lab scenes, that was shot on location, right? At the actual secret, like, meth lab under the laundromat?
No, the lab is not under the laundromat.
What the fuck, man?
There is no basement to that laundromat.
What the fuck kind of show you got me watching?
I think we talked about this last season, too, how...
how it was actual workers.
That machine lifts up, and like any of the extras in that laundromat, like that is a real commercial laundry, and like all those workers, like the extras, like they are just working. They're there doing laundry, and that machine lifts up, and there's nothing there. So like all those characters just have to like do the classic joke of like you're walking behind the couch and you act like you're walking down some stairs. So. That concept's really funny to me, that all these like serious actors, like the intensity, the stakes of Breaking Bad, and then they're all just like, okay, I'm going downstairs, like doing that whole bit. That's funny to me. Oh yeah, and there was 2 of the ladies were actual actors, like that scene when Walt pays the ladies to go down and do that. 2 of those ladies were actual actors, and then one of them was still just an extra from the laundry, is what they said. So now I got location notes. We kind of talked about the Jesse's house, Hank's house, and the White House, and the crawl space.
I got one. It was filmed in Albuquerque.
Good job, buddy.
Okay.
Where they shoot Los Pollos Hermanos is a place in Albuquerque called Twister's. Like, it's an actual fast food chain.
Supposedly, from what I've read about that it is very subpar food, but people go because of Breaking Bad.
I mean, I would go eat once. Yeah.
I'm curious to know if the inside, if that was another.
I mean, I'm not flying to Albuquerque just to do it, but if I happen to be in Albuquerque, I'd be like, all right, let's go to Twister's.
You ever going to happen to be in Albuquerque?
Likely not.
Because you don't fly.
I don't.
And I don't see you driving that far.
I don't know. If life takes me to Albuquerque for some reason, maybe I'm on a cross-country trip for some stupid reason.
I don't think you'd do that either.
I don't think I'd do that. I don't really like leaving the house or anything, But, unless I'm just going to get some food and coming back. But, no, I would, if for whatever reason life circumstances puts me in Albuquerque, I'll go to Twister's, Anyhow, so the Four Corners scene, this one is kind of like a goofy one. So logistically, like Anna Gunn did not have time to drive out to the Four Corners. You know, that whole scene where she goes and ponders her life and flips the coin and all that bullshit. Right. So the footage out at the Four Corners is a stand-in for Anna Gunn. And so you'll notice that when she's walking up, you don't have great shots of Skylar, right? You're kind of behind her. You know, it's either, and you know, sometimes it's like from above, and she's just kind of looking at the ground. So that the amount of locations for that scene is hilarious because you have the stand-in walking up and kind of standing there, and they have the above shots, and then you have they recreated, you know, the scenery of like the Four Corners, like they recreated that little bit in the studio of like actually looking at the borders and everything. And then any scene you see of, you know, that looking up at Skylar from below, that is just shot in the parking lot outside the studio. Because, again, Anna Gunn did not go to the Four Corners. She was like, I don't have time to fucking drive to, you know, all this shit, right? She wasn't like...
I'm sure she had time.
she wasn't a...
You know how women are. I'm sure she had time.
Probably. She wasn't a bitch about it, but they were just like, yeah, logistically, we couldn't have Anna drive out there. We had to have her do other stuff, yada, yada, yada. And so, yeah, there was a stand-in that went out there and did that. And then, like, if she's out, you have the from below view of Anna, you know, it's from the ground on the parking lot at the studio. And then, you know, the shots you have of her doing the whole coin thing, you know, that's at the studio, you know, when she's flipping and moving the coin and all that bullshit. So it's just funny how you have 3 locations for this one scene. You have the actual Four Corners, you have the parking lot at the studio, and you have in the studio where they recreated the whole border. So
all that for like a scene, in my opinion, that wasn't really all.
Yeah, I don't care about Skylar enough, to be honest with you. I mean, she is important. Like, it is important. Like, you're seeing what she's going through, but it honestly makes me more annoyed with her that, you know, because Walt does the whole thing, and she's like, Walt, why are you fucking up our life and being a criminal? You suck. We're in such a great financial position, you prick. And, you know, he's kind of like, huh? And then, you know, she turns and goes, oh, well, if you're going to do it, I guess we better, you know, dive in head first, right? And so then she's like, I'll launder the money. And then,
she's
you know,
back to fucking Walt, you goddamn criminal. You
and now she's
making
back
our
to
life horrible.
Walt, what are you talking about? I'm the one who knocks, you know, like what the fuck, you know, because it's after that scene. And so I guess it shows you this, and maybe it's to highlight the difference between, you know, Walt and Skylar and how I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit in the actual thing that happens before this. We haven't done that yet, so who knows? But I don't want to put too much of it into this. We're just doing the special features. But that is funny that there's 3 locations, for one shot.
Such a not important scene, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the place where Gus has all their meetings, the you know, Los Pollos Hermanos farms, right, with the chickens, it's fine. It's good. It's fine. I promise. Jason and I did like a whole like 30 minutes, and it was like, oh, the computer went to sleep, and then we, you know, woke it up, and it still had the whole thing. Okay. Yeah, so it's fine. It's good. I promise. So that location where they had the chicken coops and everything before, apparently that was getting demolished. So like all the chicken coops were gone. So if you notice the meeting in this season, they're very strategic to not like show you, you know, the chicken coops. It's very like focused in this direction for that meeting. And then they had to just add in, you know, the chicken sound effects. And, you know, they had to add that shit.
There's 3 guys standing off in the background is making chicken noises. One over here, one over there, one back there.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure they did it in post, but that would be better. They were worried they wouldn't get the shots because it was in the process of getting demolished, and they were like, "Hey, do you think we could come film before you destroy the whole place?" And yeah, that's all on locations because we cover the laundromat and that it's an abandoned nursing home. So,
damn,
yeah.
I should have brought a veggie tray. Was that the scene where he didn't bring a veggie tray?
That was the one meeting where he didn't have a. No.
Or
There
did
was
he have
only
a veggie tray?
there was only one veggie tray this season because they only have one meeting in that place. And if you remember, it's Mike and Jesse in the car, and Jesse's holding the veggie tray.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna start bringing. I should have brought a veggie tray and just laid it out right here, just for the props of the podcast.
take the plastic wrap off and shit. Yeah, you have to like take the lid off and plastic wrap it just so you can be like, yeah. Anyway,
And I'm still gonna eat it. He'll fucking in the pocket. He's gonna be munching on a fucking carrot.
why not?
Why not? Someone's got to eat it.
So then the last thing is the alternate and deleted / extended scenes. So when Bogdan and Walt are walking through the car wash when he's handing the keys over to Walt. One thing they kind of left out is two things they leave out is because Bogdan's sitting there going, hey, as is, Walter, as is, and he's like, I know, as is. So there's one shot where they're walking through like where the cars come through and one of the pipes is leaking and he's like, as is, okay. And then in that same scene, he already kind of goes on this little rant with Walt about like, you got to be tough if you're gonna be a boss. And then he talks about like lying employees, and he's really just kind of giving it to, like, even kind of trying to demean him a little more. And so, I mean, I kind of liked it because to me that even like added to when he tells him like, no, you don't get to keep the dollar, like as is, Bogdan, as is, and keeps the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he takes that dollar to the soda machine. And apparently they could not get that fucking pop machine to work. And so he said they just tried forever, and then finally they just had the take of like when it like the dollar went in, and then they cut before it spits it back out, and then they just had to like get him a can, and like they had edit in the sound of like and then they just had to put a can in there, and then he gets it out. No, because they just couldn't get the fucking pop machine.
Fucking Bryan Cranston standing there with a fucking dollar trying to get it, and Vince Gilligan standing in the background like, what the fuck? They just keep on taking. They take it. They do the whole like straighten it out on the fucking corner, and then put it back in.
There's a little bit in the blooper reel too. I think they're doing that. Yeah.
You know what? I think that would be low comedic. I mean, not like contrary to the episode, but like,
right.
I don't know. I think it'd be kind of funny just to see it serious and all of a sudden just fucking.
If they had
he's
the
just
time,
struggling to get the fucking dollar in the fucking vending machine.
That is one thing I think would be better on some of these episodes. Is like, why don't you give me like the original cut of like what you wanted? Because they do talk about a lot how they'll write these long episodes, they'll shoot all this shit, and how much they'll have to cut just for time because they're on network television. Like, can you imagine if Breaking Bad would have been on like Netflix from the beginning, and like Netflix gave them the money for the show and they just got to, have hour 20 episodes, that would be awesome. Like, just like, Ozark now. I mean, Ozark's over now, but Ozark, the episodes vary because, if they're like, well, we have a little more for this one, then they're just like, well, here's more time, so. Yeah, that would be really cool if that had been the case. But pop machine. The scene where Ted comes in and he's telling Skylar about the IRS wants money and all that shit. They make it like a really uncomfortable scene because like it's already kind of weird because there's the customer and he's like, Skylar, we got to talk, and then they just kind of cut and then they're in the office. But, the first thing that they ended up cutting was, like, he's sitting there talking and trying to ask her how she's doing and how's Walt and all this shit, like, as there's customers. And so, it's just this really awkward interaction through, like, 3 customers. Like, you imagine, like, you were trying to, like, check out at your job, check some people out, and then, like, this dude's like, how you doing? Well, no, how are you really, though? Like, are you doing okay? Like, how are you? Like, how's your husband? And you're sitting there trying to like give people their change and shit. I don't know. It's just a really awkward interaction that I thought was funny. This is the last one because there were a couple others, but like they weren't like really significant. Like one of them's Walter Jr. opening presents at his birthday party, and it was just kind of like, okay. I mean, now Hank does
about as exciting as him
pulling nails.
pulling out nails.
I mean, there is like a little bit in there where, Hank's like, oh, I got you this card. It's basically like, you get pulled over, you show them this, and they know. And then, Marie and Skylar are looking at him like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, but, they call me as soon as that card's used, so don't get in trouble. He has to, like, do the save, right? But it's scenes like that where it's just like, So, this is the last one that I thought was fun. So after they get back from, Gus and Jesse get back from Mexico, after the whole thing goes down, right? And, Gus goes in there and he just loves... I mean, I'm sure we covered it already because this is a point I wanted to hit, but, Gus just loves tormenting Hector, and Hector was a piece of shit. Like, this is established. But, it's just like, God damn, dude, like, I think you won. You know what I mean? Like, he's in a wheelchair and he talks with a bell. You know what I mean? Bing! Like, I think you won. Like, but like Gus is just like, this motherfucker's gonna, I don't know. I just thought that was funny. It's like, you won, dog. Like, leave him alone. Let him die in peace and silence. You know what I mean? Fucking shitting himself and everything else. But anyway, after that scene, he brings Jesse in to, say like, yeah, he killed the last of your bloodline and all that shit, right? And then, they're walking out. It was an extended thing that they cut, and I think they cut it for the story, because Gus and Jesse are walking out, and then Jesse's like, okay, who is that guy? Like, he was the one, because like obviously Jesse already knew him from the whole Tuco thing, and they were talking about it, and Gus kind of tells him like, oh, I know him because of yada yada yada, and then the nurse. Is like, okay, see you next week, Mr. Frank. So I think they took it out because, if Gus comes back there every week, the nurse is like, hey, see you next week. And then, excuse me. And, Jesse was there for that interaction, and Gus is like, saying, yeah, no, yada, yada, yada. Then it's not going to be as big a deal. The fact that they had it as that slight interaction of just, he's the guy, and then, cut, maybe, I think in the actual story it doesn't exist, that conversation, because if Jesse knows he comes back there every week, like, it's not that hard a thing for Jesse to think about at that point, because when Walt's like, hey, we need an in, like, how do we get Gus? Like, can you think of anything? And then it takes him a while. If he had seen that interaction, or had that interaction with Gus, and the nurse is like, oh, see you next week, and all this shit. Like, they don't necessarily have to lure him back to the nursing home. Like, he'll be back next week. Just wait him out, and, anyway.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah. Yep. So, that's all I got on the special features and stuff, so.
Little bonus thing. We're recording this, basically Super Bowl weekend. And have you seen that there's going to be a Breaking Bad style ad?
Popcorners.
Yeah, I see. They pretty much have already fucking. I don't know if it's going to be different, but they've already posted one on like social media that I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Yeah. It was on Cranston's Twitter page. I don't remember why the fuck. I think it popped up in a.
It pretty much popped up as an ad for me on Facebook, but I watched it. So I don't know which I guess that wouldn't really make sense for them to release the ad before Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, maybe there's a better one.
There's probably a different one.
We're gonna eat a lot of snacks together.
tight. For reference, anyone listening, which you may have already seen that commercial by now, or may not. I don't know. You know how Super Bowl commercials are, but it was Walter, Jesse, and Tuco. Yeah, and they were selling them this what was the fucking product? Popcorners, which looks like Doritos.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I mean, I haven't done any research, but it kind of seems like it's one of the rice, kind of like the rice cakes, but like in Dorito form-ish, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But,
and I wish I still lived in Texas, because Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston were going around to different like liquor stores and bookstores in the Dallas Fort Worth area and the Houston area. I guess promoting, like in the liquor stores, promoting apparently some kind of like liquor that they're sponsoring together. And like say they're doing like meet and greets with fans and stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, I wish I still fucking lived down there. I would have figured out where they're at and when did a meet and greet or some shit like that just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it'd be cool.
they're definitely doing up their the Breaking Bad anniversary this year because it's been
Well, since it ended, I guess.
no
would be
since
10 years, right?
since it began because they've been celebrating since
Well,
the
it
first
started
episode.
in
aired.
08.
Yeah,
right?
so that's what
That's
15 years?
I would think they'd be celebrating when it ended, right? Because 13 to 23, right?
Well, the biggest thing was, they always, like AMC was promoted real heavily. 15 years since Breaking Bad premiered, and then they were like running like a Breaking Bad marathon for like it felt like a week straight.
If we're gonna celebrate on the fives, I mean, I guess that's how it goes, right? You get the 10 year, the 15, the 20s. I mean, although I guess no one really does the whole 20 thing, right? It's kind of like, hey, 25th anniversary.
Yeah, 25.
Yeah. I guess people kind of do it on the fives. I don't know. 20 seems 50. Whatever. I don't know.
Capitalism.
Who the fuck am I?
Capitalism. That's the real answer. Money.
Yeah. You're right. All right, yeah. So that was cool. Hopefully it was cool.
We'll be back for part 2 in a little
Maybe
bit.
not. And you will have already seen the thing we'll do a little later. So thanks for listening and all that. And yeah, catch us on the emails, ConsecrationsHotline@yahoo.com, Twitter at ConsecrationsOne, hit us on Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, like us, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you very much for listening or viewing, and goodbye.